I'm Jack Nichols and welcome to World Title.
Hello everybody and welcome to Interlagos for the final round of the FSR World Championship here for 2021. After the cancellation of the Malaysian Grand Prix 2 weeks ago, Ewan Simincic was crowned as the third man to win 3 titles on the bounce here in the World Championship, along with Burst Esports' second team's title on the bounce as well. You might think that there's nothing to play for this week then, but you're absolutely wrong, because all of the other positions other than first in the drivers can be changed here today, so well worth sticking around for, and we're massively looking forward to another great Brazilian Grand Prix. My name is Ewan O'Leary. I'm alongside Lewis McGlade for this one. It's the final race of the season, Lewis, and there's still much to play for other than first.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the battle for second in the championship is incredibly close here. Michi Hoyer and Alex Siebel separated by just 3 points. It's all on the line for drivers like that. But then you also want to end the season on a high. If you've not had a great one throughout, and we've got a few drivers to sort of throw that one at, where they've not had the greatest season, been a bit inconsistent, picked up a couple of podiums here and there. They want to end their season on a high, and it's now or never.
Yeah, it absolutely is. This is where we've come from. It was supposed to be a 12-race season, turns out to be 11, and this is where we stand in terms of the championship. As we just mentioned, 44 points is an unassailable lead for Ewan Simincic at this point, ahead of his teammate Michi Hoyer. Alex Siebel and Dennis Jordan are in third and fourth, but that one for second is really what we're probably going to be focusing on throughout the day here today, because it is by far the closest. To your point there, though, Lewis, Petter Berliak, one of those guys who's not had the greatest season. He's finished in the top 3 in the last 3 championships. However, he's not going to be there this season, you wouldn't imagine. Well, mathematically, he's not going to be. And also 2015 world champion. A season definitely below his standard, and he may be, one of those guys who might take a step forward today with regards to what you're talking about, trying to end it on a high, maybe.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not 100% sure if he's here today, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with some of those drivers. Like I said, the big fight that we're focused on is that one between Hoyer and Siebel. That 3-point margin, it's all to play for. That it's very, very small. Of course, same as points in Formula One. So 25 for the win, 18, 15, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, 1. The standard format. So in that sense, you're looking for a 3-point margin. Realistically, need a couple of positions between them, but we'll see what Hoyer can do. Can Hoyer bookend the season with race victories? He was really looking forward to going racing at Malaysia. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do so. But of course, Malaysia being the circuit where he took his first ever victory back in 2020. Opening the season here with 3, we've spoken about that quite a few times, but it would feel right for him to finish the season with a win, but I'm pretty sure that Alex Siebel's been working quite hard behind the scenes to try and take that one from him. And let's be honest, Ewan Simincic wants to round out the season with a victory. And it'd actually be the first time that Ewan Simincic goes back-to-back on race victories since I think it was May last year.
Yeah, so it's been a long time, and he's not in a suit today either, which we're all very disappointed about. We're gutted actually, but maybe he decided that it's not the best idea. Well, it isn't the best idea if you're trying to win, but it is funny. So we're a little bit disappointed. Anyway, here we are in qualifying. 10 minutes as normal, 3 flying laps for the guys. 1 in-lap and out-lap is covered in that as well, but you don't need to worry about that. It's the flying laps we're obviously focused on, and we're on board with Jonas Brackstock coming down in towards turn 4 for the very first time. Had 9-point scoring finishes in 2020. He's already had 3 non-point scoring finishes out of the 12. Obviously, out of 11, we'll say, because the last one didn't count. But yeah, it's not quite been the season that Brackstock was hoping for. He did get that pole position back in the Nürburgring, finished second, but I can't help but feel he'll be a little bit disappointed. His consistency last season was immense, and this season he's just gone off the boil a little bit with regards to the consistency.
Yeah, I mean, Backstock's a proper quality driver when it comes to his speed. We've seen that out of him countless times. Of course, last year here, it was his final drive for Ghost Speed, moving over to HME, which we'll see what happens on that one in the near future. This was the track, though, that he failed to continue that point-scoring streak. It was a retirement here 12 months ago. Backstock across the line, obviously straight up onto pole position. Instantly deposed, though, by his teammate, Zoltz Chuch, who's gone to the top. Colin Spork, the ever-impressive young Dutchman, I think that would be very fitting for him to take a victory to end the season. One of those young talents that's really coming through the ranks and crosses the line, goes to the top of the session. Spork's been very good this season for the part of the season that he's done, grabbing that podium, of course, at Azure, but being in the points the last 5 races, you never know what's up for grabs.
Yeah, absolutely. Oldermenger comes over the line right now, and he goes into 5th position at the moment. He's 5th place in the Pro Championship, I believe, at the moment. They're all behind Noah Roivers, who's just taken that title for good. He's confirmed himself as the Pro Champion for 2021, so congratulations to him, and he's in 4th place at the moment in the World Championship. We'll see how this race goes for him. He's definitely be on a high, though, after that championship victory. A couple of the guys further down going for the hard tyres. Jeffrey Fournier, Carlos Martin, and Cam Roger as well, who's making his first appearance in the World Championship since this race last year at the Brazilian Grand Prix. And looking to go on the hard tyres early on, get one of those sets of tyres out of the way, and then look to do a little bit better later on. But I'm a little bit surprised, I have to say, to see Carlos Martin going for that one. He's a very solid top 10 driver, and you don't normally see guys who are capable of getting inside the top 10 going for this, but clearly he's decided to shake things up on the final, Jay.
Yeah, just driving for AFP this round as well, alongside Cameron Roger. Of course, Carlos Martin's normally driving for NetRex, and just a little bit of a switch there, as we can do for the final round of the season. It's just basically taking up some of the other seats and opening the door for other drivers. As Leonov, I believe, is the one that's jumped into that NetRex car. We'll ride on board with Alex Siebel, though. Across the line, purple first sector, not purple in the second, as Simoncic has gone faster. It's a 107.2, instantly beaten by Marocek, instantly beaten by our triple world champion, Jene Simoncic.
Very impressive indeed. Once again, 7.1 to kick us off for the first round of times. Leonov goes into 11th in his first race of the season, and it's going to be only race of the season. Zancho have got Jan Vosnicker, by the looks of things, in to the car for today. I think that's the only Zancho car, though, from what I can see. So, he's on his own. No Danny Kish today. For example, and interestingly as well, it's not been, I know he's not here, but I'll just briefly mention him. He's normally a very, very strong driver in the World Championship, and he has shown moments of being very impressive indeed. However, it's not really been the season that he's had in the past, let's say, because he's done 4 previous World Championship. He's done 4 full seasons, I guess, and 4 out of 4 times he's finished inside the top 5, and obviously that's not going to happen this year, so he'll be a little bit disappointed. But Jan Vosnicker, anyway, in Zancho colours, goes up to 4th position, and that's not bad for him. Mitji Hoyer on board with him right now, and purple in the first sector. We'll see where he is. Well, nowhere. He pulls up just before the final corner. Just a word on Mitji Hoyer actually here, because it looks like he's going to finish in a very similar championship position to what he did last year, but I think he'll be very pleased with his progress as a driver. Having 3 race wins off the bounce to the start of the year was simply phenomenal from him, and surely he's got to be pleased with the season that he's had.
Well, I think he might try and go one better than last year. Last year, of course, he was sat in 3rd position in the championship, 7 points ahead of Alex Siebel, who is now battling in that title race for 2nd place. Could go one better, could grab 2nd. Speaking of 2nd flying lap for David Marocek through the first sector, not so great. Alex Siebel instantly back out on track and setting an incredible first sector at a 16.616. That is a 10th and a half faster than Jene Simoncic. Of course, one of these circuits where we can see a wide variety of setup usage, whether it's high wings or low wings. It's one of those ones where you do see that balance. For me personally, I'd actually want to quite go low wings around here. You want to be a bullet in a straight line running up the hill towards the start finish. At least in my opinion, it just doesn't necessarily net you a decent qualifying position.
Not always, but you can make your way through the field in that way. So wait and see who's taken that strategy on. David Marocek doesn't look like he's going very well through the second lap, and he's slowing up towards the line. But Alex Siebel is going very quickly indeed. Let's see if he can get anywhere near Jene Simoncic here. over the line he goes, and he goes to the front with a 1 minute 7.028, just over a tenth ahead of the three-time champion. We're on board with him right now, and this looks very scruffy, I have to say, on his second attempt. Not what we're used to seeing at all. Two poor sectors to kick off the lap, I'm afraid. So Siebel certainly turning on the afterburners here, and with Michi Hoyer all the way down there, no time at the moment. This is very promising indeed for Alex Siebel. Of course, these two in the top two right now, the two only men to have scored points in every race this season. Very impressive seasons from them both.
Indeed. We'll see what Noah Roivers does up towards the line for Edge, teammate of Colin Spork. Second sector there, not so great, losing quite a bit of time to our front runners. See what it is across the line in 11th spot at the moment, and the improvement on time only minor, and actually it wasn't actually improvement in time overall, was down about 200ths of a second as we focus on Janis Brakshock. First sector there, not so great, but it is that first sector there. This is showing how much as Michi Hoyer goes up into third spot, so nice effort there. But I'm curious a little bit about the burst guys at the moment, because that first sector from Brakshock is actually faster than Jone Simoncic's first sector. A 7.51 was Simoncic's fastest first sector. A 7.34 you can see quite clearly there. So clearly the burst guys not electing to go for a slippery car in a straight line, even though its top speed does seem to be matching basically everyone else. Everyone's sort of running around the 3.25 kilometre an hour mark on the run down into T1. Janis Brakshock across the line, improvement inside the top 10, up to 5th.
Yeah, very nice improvement. Again, trying to find some of his Nürburgring qualifying form, which saw him take pole position. Let's not forget, in that really entertaining race we saw between him, Michi Hoyer, and Alex Siebel as well, who was eventually caught up in an incident with Brakshock and got himself a 2-place penalty by the end of the race. So second place, I'm afraid, turned to 4th for him on that day. But he's currently leading this session with 1 round of time still to go. Danny van der Neet, we're on board with right now for Netrex Grand Prix. It's not been the greatest qualifying for them so far. Neither of them are inside the top 10, but he looks to be going okay in the first sector as Tom Oldenmenger goes into 11th, just slipping in front of him there. Very tightly packed midfield, as you would expect from Interlagos.
It's not the longest circuit on the track, of course, just 67 seconds to complete a lap for our pole sitter, Alex Siebel, at present. It really isn't very long. There's not much time then to make a mistake, but when you do, it costs you an awful lot. It's not as if you can recover from it. We'll see what Danny van der Neet does across the line for Netrex, and half a second off at the moment, only up to 11th spot. Alex Siebel's session is done, so it's all in the hands of this man, Jone Simoncic, running through Ferradura.
This is a high-pressure situation now, and a situation that this three-time champion is very much used to. Indeed, he's taken so many pole positions in the past here before, 29 to his name already. This is for his 30th ever World Championship pole position in FSR. It looks a little bit scruffy through the middle sector, though, I have to say, not quite on it. As I say that, I can eat my words, because it's just gone purple in the middle sector. He's really wringing the neck of this car right now, going very quickly indeed, but is he going quickly enough? He needs a 10th and a quarter to overhaul Alex Siebel. Over the line goes Jone Simoncic, and it's not quite enough. It was a fantastic final sector as well, but in the end, he doesn't improve by enough. It's only half a tenth of a second, but in the end, the first sector did for him there.
Yeah, and that's it. It is all about that first sector where they were losing so much time there. Roivers still on a lap, soft tyres at the moment. 13th spot, green across the line, losing a bit of time, but still inside the top 10 and beating out Colin Spork, who doesn't seem to be on the form that we've seen from Spork the last few rounds when it comes to his pace. But Jone Simoncic wasn't able to do anything. Alex Siebel then on pole position. Now, I'm very impressed with that. And when it comes to pole positions, Ewan, and conversions from it, this season it's been a pretty, not a complete slam dunk, but it's gone well when it comes to pole position, translating it to a race win. Siebel knows that inside our Triple Crown in the midpoint of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been a lot of pole position victories, but not lights to flag, you wouldn't say. It's been very close, but Siebel has taken it just about from Jone Simoncic. Michi Hoyer in third with David Mocek making it 3 burst cars in the top 4. Jonas Brakstok having a good qualifying there in 5th, ahead of Jan Vosnicker and Dennis Jordan, who's going to be disappointed with 7th. Ricardo Costa getting himself into the top 10 for the first time I can remember, and Zoltzuks getting himself into 9th, ahead of Noah Roivers, the newly crowned pro champion in 10th, who's just ahead of his Edge eSports teammate Colin Spork. Danny van der Neet and Evan Leonov are 12th and 14th for Netrex, I'm afraid not great for them, ahead of the 2 AFP cars of Carlos Martin and Cam Roger. Then we've got Jeffrey Fournier in 17th and Damien Scrogron in 18th position, who is a little bit, well, didn't set a time in that particular session. Well then, a very exciting qualifying. We've got a very exciting race coming up, but let's take a little bit of a closer look at the Interlagos circuit. On board with Michi Hoyer.
This is Formula Sim Racing. My name is Michi Hoyer and welcome guys for the final time this year in 2021 to the lap presentation in the Formula Sim Racing 2021 series. We're coming around the final turn to pick up the speed for the flying presentation lap around Sao Paulo Interlagos, and we are just about to start our flying lap. Heavy braking zone into turn 1, probably after the long straight, best overtaking opportunity into the center, as but you need to stay tight here on the inside, open up the entry for 2, fight the car a little on the exit into 3, which will be flat out, a short sprint up towards turn 4 down the hill, Curva del Sol. Into the left hand you go, can take all of the curb on the exit. Through 5, acceleration, no issue whatsoever. Turn 6 and 7, a double right hander. Car wants to become loose as you go over the crest, and then slowing the car down into the first of a series of hairpins. Turn 8, 9, and finally turn 10 as the last hairpin, and you see the car wants to slide due to the rear, just always reacting to the elevation changes going down the hill through 11 into the final turn 12. Again, traction very important here, going up the hill, car very nervous over the bumps, over the elevation changes, and now for the final time this year we're watching who will battle it out for the win in the FSR 2021 season finale.
Welcome back to Interlagos, where Alex Siebel has taken pole position for the final race of the 2021 World Championship. Yoni Simoncic is on alongside him, and then the man we've just seen, Michi Hoyer, is just tucked in behind them in 3rd position. A very iconic circuit, it has to be said, yeah, well worth ending off our season here. It's the only correct way to do it, in my opinion. My name is Ewan. I'm still alongside Lewis McGlade for the final part of the 2021 season. And yeah, unfortunately, we haven't got the Teams Championship to fight for like we did last year, Lewis. That was absolutely incredible. But we do have this Siebel versus Hoyer fight for 2nd in the championship. You can see it just there, and I think it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to the fight between the two.
Yeah, at the moment, realistically speaking, slight advantage to Alex Siebel in the consideration that pole position's been converted into a race win every single time this season, with the exception of just 2. That was Jonas Brakshock's pole position at the German Grand Prix at the Nürburgring, and then of course the pole position from Michi Hoyer when we went racing in the dunes of Zandvoort. Alex Siebel had a pole position at Indianapolis in the midpoint of the season, converted that one into pole position, the 25 points he took with it, and like you say, it's been in the points every single time this season. The consistency of that man is a hard one to beat, but it's not an impossible task. Also from qualifying, by the way, everyone qualified on the soft compound tyre with the exception of 2 drivers, being Cameron Roger and Jeffrey Fournier. Carlos Martin, never mind. 3 drivers, there we go. Qualifying on the hard tyres does mean that Scouron, starting at the back of the grid, does need to take the hard tyres twice because didn't go out in qualifying because of a late join and whatever. But those 3 drivers, Martin, Roger and Fournier, all only need to take hard tyres once in this race.
Yes, the final race with it. Well, it might be the final race with these rules. I'm not entirely sure what we're doing with the rules for 2022, but that's all to be announced in due course. Make sure you do follow us on Twitter and YouTube, and keep an eye on the Discord and whatever, because announcements will be made, I'm sure, in the coming future about things like that. And also a thanks to our sponsors who've been with us throughout the season, of course, 3D Wrap, SimLab, Masita Esports, and the race as well. Who've all been supporting the FSR World Championship and the FSR organisation for 2021. It's been fantastic once again, but a familiar winner at the top. Yoni Simicic, not finished outside of the top 5 all season, only been off the podium once. We talk about Alex Siebel's consistency, but Simicic is almost impossible to beat, you would say, for any human anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that comes down to like their endurance spirit and stuff. They've gone through all this stuff time and time again, completing laps, completing races. They know what they're doing. And here's the starting grid.
Yeah, let's have a look at the starting order for the final race of 2021. Alex Siebel alongside Yoni Simicic on the front row. Then it's Hoyer and Mrocek all burst row 2 there in 3rd and 4th. Jonas Braktok is in 5th ahead of Jan Vosnica. The good performance there in 6th ahead of Dennis Jordan and Ricardo Costa, who are on the 4th row of the grid together. In 9th position we have Zolt Zux for HM Engineering, and then the 2 Edge Esports cars of Noah Roivers and Colin Spork. Danny van der Neet is in 12th position for Netrex, ahead of his teammate directly, Leonov in 14th, but Tom Oldermenger is in 13th, just sandwiched in between them. Then we've got an all AFP 8th row with Carlos Martin and Cam Roger lining up 15th and 16th. Then Jeffrey Fournier and Damien Scrowan are rounding out our 18-car grid for the final race of the year. So then, 72 laps await at 71. I keep getting it wrong. Anyway, there's a lot of laps coming up into Lagos. There's not many left in terms of the season, though. It's really starting to draw to a close, which is a shame on the one hand, but Yoni Simicic will be very pleased to see the end of it, because he can be crowned 3-time champion at the end of this, no matter what happens. And there is our pole man fighting for second place in this one with Michi Hoyer. He comes in with a 3-point deficit, so winning the race would do it for him, no matter where this man finishes. But if neither of them win, then things start to get a little bit more complicated. Can't see the winner coming outside of the top 3 though, Lewis, I have to be honest.
No, it is possible for it to do so. I mean, there's only really one driver in there that I'd be pointing the finger at when it comes to a potential race winner. That is Dennis Jordan, who runs from 7th position. Might be able to march his way up, but if I were to pick one right now, I'm going from the form book. I would go Alex Siebel to take race victory here in the final round of the season and confirm himself as second in the championship. Not going to be an easy run, though. If there's a circuit where you can race on, it is Interlagos. It's why we love it so much. That slipstream down into turn 1 every single lap is intense. It's hard work. It's fantastic for racing, but it is very, very intense. Hopefully, we don't have the crash that we had in the mid-pack that we had in Academy running down into turn 4. We'll see how that one unfolds.
First man on the hard compound tyres is Zolt Zux in 9th position. Then everybody down from 13th onwards, apart from Fournier, are on the hards as well. But up front, it is a completely soft affair between the tyres, and here we go. The lights coming on now for one final time in 2021. The FSR World Championship gets underway in Interlagos. Can Alex Siebel get across to cover from Simicic? Yes, he can. Oh, and there's a big crash in the background. Dennis Jordan's in the wall. He's lost his front wing already. Oh dear. Mrocek is also dropping down the order very quickly. Oh my goodness, Dennis Jordan is going to have his ears boxed here because he's got no front wing and everybody's going off every which way to try and avoid him. Unfortunately, a big accident down into turn 1 and side by side going on between Brakshock and Vosnica.
Yeah, we'll see what Vosnica can do to get back in line behind Brakshock. Brakshock instantly defending, running into Ferradura. Retirements already, David Mrocek and Tom Oldermenger full burst, so that's not really great for them. Scouron as well, heavy into it. I feel like I jinxed that a little bit there, so hoping that we weren't going to have the same kind of crash that we saw in Academy. That was pretty embarrassing running down the hill. They didn't even get to turn 4 before they started crashing, but like I say, it is what it is. They've come through. Some of them have dived their way through, including Lord President himself, Cameron Roger, up in the ninth spot. Not that we're biased, but it's a good effort.
I am. No, it's fantastic effort. Ninth place for Cam Roger. We'll see if he can hang on. Well, he can't hang on to it by the looks of things, because Noah Roivers is all over him like a cheap suit at the moment, and Danny Van Der Neek wants a piece of it as well. Wow, that was late on the brakes. He slides it in and can't get it stopped. Noah Roivers side by side with his teammate up in front. Colin Spork's not made a bad start from 11th. He's up into 7th after all of that. 4 spots for him gained off of the starters. These two can't keep their hands off each other either. Over a little bit further back, Zooks is going to have to resign to 8th position just off the start here. And in all the madness, we haven't even noticed that Michi Hoyer has got through on Jerne Simoncic as well off of the start there. So the front three are starting to get away from each other, or get away from the rest of the field, should I say. But Hoyer has got himself into second, and he can begin to put the pressure onto his fellow German.
Yeah, I did watch it through turn one. I was almost a little bit concerned that he was going to clear not only his teammate, but Alex Siebel off the road as well, but able to wrestle it down to the apex for the first corner. And like you say, sat in second spot, now sat in the slipstream. Now it's either a question of saving fuel or going on the attack. It's, of course, Siebel, Hoyer, Simoncic. Janis Brakshock's a little bit further back. Ricardo Costa, I was going to talk about him as well. I'm pretty sure best qualifying of the season from Ricardo Costa to get up into what was 8th position. Dodged all the chaos and calamity on the start of the race, and up into 5th could be a great result for Epic and for Ricardo Costa.
I think it's the best qualifying result for Epic Racing as a whole, actually, in the 2021 season. They've not had a great year, I think it's fair to say. Only 1 point scored, with Geoffrey Fournier getting a top 10 only once, I'm afraid. So not a great start on this occasion. Let's take a look at the start from Cam Roger. This is going to be an entertaining view because he's gained many spaces off of the start, and so surely there's going to be a lot of carnage unfolding in front of him. We'll try and get to the bottom of the Dennis Jordan bit in a moment, but it's a bit difficult to see from here. Normally the inside line can be a bit of a curse into turn 1 at Interlagos. However, there was so much madness going on the outside line that it actually ended up being a blessing.
There was. So that's where Dennis Jordan was going off as well with the net Rex, and Roger just coming through the middle of all of this and trying to get by on Noah Roivers as well. Once again, let's take a look at what happened to Dennis Jordan, just being, I think, squeezed into the wall, but definitely need to take another look at it as they were able to take to the start once more. And just a little bit tight. He just came across. That is fully on Dennis Jordan right there, just coming straight across the nose of the Zancho. It's so tight down there. Into turn 1, so easily done, but like I say, no front wing at this point, and he's basically a passenger hoping that everyone else knows behind, which of course they don't.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It's a rare mistake from Dennis Jordan, I have to say. You don't often see that, but it just came across on Jan Vosnica there, and I think it was Ricardo Costa who was stuck on the inside. It might not have been because he's up here now, so not entirely sure. There was so much madness going on, it's hard to take it all in, but David Bocek somehow managed to find himself spun around the wrong way as well, from 4th place on the grid for him, so he's going to be disappointed with the end to his season, but in the end, 7th place looks like where he's going to finish in the championship. Mohamed Patel not here today, so he's not going to be overtaking him, which is unfortunate for Patel, and actually unfortunate for me because I picked Patel to take the championship at the start of the year, and it's not turned out very well for me at all, that prediction, so never mind. But it looks like he's going to be 8th at the end of all this. So Ricardo Costa, 6th place, a good performance so far, but he's still got a very long way to go to get to the end here. He's got Colin Spork not far behind him as well. Brakshock now starting to get away from Vosnica. Things starting to spread out just a little bit at the front of the field. Finally, I guess they can start to settle into the race a little bit after the opening madness.
But I'm pretty sure at the start of the season I picked Peter Berliak. I like my stats. I'm pretty sure I picked Peter Berliak to win the championship, as it would be the same gap between championships 2015 to 21 that it would have been between Roy Kolber's 2 championships back in the mid to late 2000s. That one also didn't work out. We should not have looked past. We've done it a couple of times where we've looked past Jerne Simoncic because we're just like, oh, surely someone else can beat him because he's the target man, and he's a target man for a reason, because he's very good at this kind of stuff, and it's the reason why he's our triple world champion. Michi Hoyer not able to do anything about Alex Siebel at the moment, which, to be honest, I'm not necessarily surprised by. Alex Siebel and that Red Bull racing car, it was fast in the first and final sector as Ricardo Costa was trying to get the position back on Jan Vosnica down into turn 1, and will grab 5th spot back. This is just dragging Colin Spork into this fight.
Yeah, it is indeed. It's seeing Janis Brakshock go away from them completely as well in 4th place, but Vosnica just struggling a little bit there. So Grado Costa's been able to get through, although the slipstream very powerful and nearly able to get through into turn 4. There was the Zancho driver for this race anyway, on Ricardo Costa, but this is all over 5th position. Let's not forget Costa, Voznica and Spork all fighting one another in this freeway fight, but it looks like it's going to be toing and froing for most of the race, really. They've already kind of formed themselves into these little groups. We've got the 3 for the lead, 3 for 5th place. We've also got some guys battling over the last points paying positions as well. Cam Rogers just slipped out of them in the last few moments, but they're already being resigned to their little groups in the field, I guess, and the battles are kind of being involved within those rather than anybody making wild strides up the field anymore.
Yeah, but of course, remember that Carlos Martin and Cam Roger are both ticking off their final usage of hard tyres, so they'll be running softs until the end after this point. Pit window for these, I'm pretty sure it was around about 20 laps from memory around here, and so realistically speaking, for those that are on the hard tyres right now, they could theoretically pit in sort of 5 or 6 laps time to get off of the hard tyres and then run soft until the end, running 20 lap stints. Had a bit of a snap though from Jan Vosnitzer in that Zancho Sim Sport car, just running through T4 at Bica de Pato, and it's so easy to do there. Seen it time and time again. Saw it through Academy, saw it through Pro, where drivers are running a little bit far over onto some of the AstroTurf. Be it out on the exit of Ferradura, where you're applying pressure through these constant radius corners. It's very, very tricky. And we've seen massive snaps, unsavable snaps. So they've got to be careful. They've got to respect the track.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very difficult one, and Van Vosnica didn't really respect his right foot very much there, because he's lost it a little bit on the exit of Juncao, the final real corner on this circuit, and that's going to open the door for the Flying Dutchman in behind. Colin Spork on the outside line. He's going to get a bit more slipstream from Costa as well into the corner, but Vosnica brakes very late indeed, and Colin Spork wasn't really brave enough on the brakes there for my money.
Yeah, that was absolutely brilliant from Jan Vosnitzer going through T1. Just incredible on the brakes. Just had that one balanced beautifully. And Colin Spork didn't really have the confidence in his left foot to send that one around the outside. It is possible to do so. Anyone's like, oh, you can't make it around the outside. So yeah, you can. We see it so many times. It gives you the inside for the next corner, but from that point on, it's less clear as to where the advantage goes, because the inside for turn 1's the outside for turn 2 is the inside for turn 3, and that kind of but if you're running side by side all the way through there, I'd want to hold the inside for turn 1, so I've got the inside for that all important third corner and that run down the Reta Aposta. And realistically speaking, there Jan Vosnitzer did nothing wrong. It was absolutely perfect. A great example as to what to do to hold a car behind you. And Spork just wasn't quite on the attack as much. I'm sure that will change as the race goes on.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. We're still very early on. Let's not forget, we're only on lap 9 of 71 here in the Brazilian Grand Prix, the final race of the FSR World Championship here in 2021. We've got 3 for the lead right now. Alex Siebel is leading ahead of Michi Hoyer and Jene Simoncic, all covered by less than a second and a half. It's very, very close indeed. Janis Braksok is about 5 seconds adrift right now, so he's a little bit far removed. It looks to be these 3 for the race win, as we forecasted at the start of the race, but the advantage that Burst Esports have, once again, we've said it so many times this season, they've got 2 cars in this leading group of 3. Alex Siebel is going to have to kind of cover all of the strategic moves on his own, whereas Burst Esports can maybe have somebody go long and somebody pit early. They can play a little bit of a team game if they want to.
Yes, I mean, it's just the strength that Burst have as a team. Earlier in the season was a little bit more questionable in the sense that Jene Simoncic and Michi Hoyer were battling for the championship, but as things rolled on past the midway point of the season, it very much went the Slovenians' way, and in that sense, that sort of championship fight ended, unfortunately, for Michi Hoyer. But now, Jene Simoncic is... I mean, his focus will be winning the race, but we've seen time and time again with Jene Simoncic when even back at ACR when he was teammates with Michi Hoyer and when it was Martin Gosby as well, as part of that outfit back in 2019. When it came into the race weekend, Simoncic's his allegiance is to the team. It's not necessarily as much to himself. So whilst, yes, I'm sure he wants to win this race, if there's something that he can do to assist Michi Hoyer on that run into second place in the championship, you know, obviously within reason, I think Simoncic might be one of those drivers that might actually try. Might go for a slight undercut. That might be a bit of a risky strategy to try and get ahead of Alex Siebel and then assist his teammate from there.
Let's not forget we've seen plenty of 4-stops from Jurny Simoncic so far this season. And Siebel and all of these guys, really. The 4-stop has been used more than I was expecting at the start of the season, I have to say. It's been played with, especially by Simoncic, I seem to remember, to good effect on occasion. So you never know. There could be another roll of the dice here today, and then Siebel really won't know what to do, because does he cover the 4-stop, or does he stick to his guns on the 3, or is he planning a 4-stop from the gun? We'll wait and see over the coming laps, because we're on lap 11 right now. If we're saying about a 20-lap pit stop window in terms of how far you can go on the fuel, then I guess mathematically you could pit from now and still make a free stop work, because Noah Roivers just makes a little bit of a mistake over those curves through turn 3 on that occasion.
I was kind of thinking about this. So thinking about the 4-stop strategy, the 4-stop works on circuits where you can overtake, right? It doesn't necessarily work because you need to go on the attack. If it's a circuit where you can't really pass, we don't tend to see the 4-stop strategy work to great effect. This is a circuit that you can pass on. This is one that you can go aggressive on. I wonder if we will see one of these trio at the front do a 4-stop. I'd love to see one. Hey, I'd like to see someone else give it a go, maybe, because what it does is, whilst you'd say, yeah, but you've got to come down the pit lane so many times. Yes, but your pit stops will be shorter themselves, because you won't be taking as much fuel, because the distance between each stop is less. So in that sense, you don't lose as much. It's not as simple as every single stop is 3 seconds like it is elsewhere. You know, you don't just come in, have a 3-second stop, and so then it's a bit more clear. Around here, you're talking 9 seconds. You can shave a couple of seconds off of each stop, negating some of the impact from it. And also on track, because your car's not as heavy, you're going faster, so you gain some of that time back there as well. You can go more aggressive on the tyres. You can go more aggressive. The 4-stop can work, and that's why we've seen it work so many times this season. I mean, normally it's the 3-stop which we aim towards, but I mean, who knows? It keeps you off of those hard tyres for long periods of time, and that's the main focus.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a way up, really, between the pit stop time in terms of the travel through the lane, but also being able to overtake, because, for example, the Azur Grand Prix is a short pit lane, which helps you out, but obviously you can't overtake very well.
See ya, Jan.
Off the road goes Jan Bosnicker, rather bizarrely actually, and he's on the outside line there at the hairpin, just getting back on at turn 10. That was a bit of a weird one. He's got passed by Zooks as well, down to 10th place. He was having a good run there, Bosnicker, and down to 10th now. It's not the end of the world, but a little bit weird, a little bit of a strange one.
Going to take a wild guess as Mitchy Hoyer goes a little bit wide at 3 that he's going to get a bit too far over to the left-hand side as Jan Bosnicker. Oh, no, not even. Went even before that. Big snap on the rear, heavy on the brakes. Oh, no, neutral to reverse. Oh. Now, this can be for a couple of reasons. Number one, you can have a neutral button. Not people don't tend to have a neutral button. But if you also pull both left and right panels on the steering wheel, it'll drop you into neutral. And whilst he's trying to get into the braking zone, maybe his right hand had slipped, pulled both paddles at the same time, and then as he's shifting down, rather than it sticking in neutral, obviously he's going with the left hand, pulled it into reverse. He's not been ready for it. Reverse has come on, and it's gone for a bit of a spin. That is a bizarre mistake. I do not see that one that often.
Yeah, we really don't see that very often. You say that. I did see that the other day, actually, on Friday.
Hear, yes. No, I did. I did hear about that. Yes. I think it was Marocek, wasn't it? Was it? No, well, no, because Marocek won. Never mind, it wasn't Marocek.
I think it was our very own Aidan Millwood, actually, who did it.
Oh, yeah, no, it was.
Yeah, he just pulled it into reverse by accident.
Sorry, no, I shouldn't laugh.
And yeah, we shouldn't laugh really, but we know Aidan, so it's all right. But no, he just pulled it into reverse, and it went nowhere coming off of one of the corners, and yeah, it was not quite as catastrophic as that for Vosdica, but it was a bit of a strange one. But anyway, no such problems for these three at the moment. Vosdica's just come into the pit lane, by the way, and put on some new soft tyres, and now he's down in 15th position behind Dennis Jordan and Geoffrey Fournier, who are still recovering as well. Fournier keeping pace actually with Dennis Jordan, which is no mean feat, especially considering the season that Jordan has had in 4th place in the championship at the moment. 2 race wins as well, to his name, of course. But these three for the lead are what we're focusing on here once again. Siebel is leading the line. Are any of these guys going to blink early and go for a pit stop? Not really. just kind of running where they are right now, happy to sit in line just for the moment. I guess Hoyer and Simicic are going to be enjoying the fuel-saving benefits they're getting right now. You can presume they're lifting and coasting just a little bit.
Hoyer's a bit slow there. Hoyer is a bit slow, and Jane Simicic, who's been closing in bit by bit, might well be close enough to do something. He's going to look down the inside into T4 and get through. Simicic had closed back up to Hoyer the last couple of laps, had dropped off a little bit. Is Hoyer going to go for a move? Surely not. No, he's going to back out of it. I mean, Simicic now has to go on the hunt for Siebel, and if there's any hopes of Michi Hoyer grabbing second in the championship, it does come down to Simicic making a move and slowing Siebel down. We'll have to see, but I think this race is just about to get a bit more interesting.
Well, Siebel doesn't have to finish behind Hoyer for this. Hoyer can hold on from in front here, because if Siebel gets demoted to second and Hoyer finishes third, then Siebel would still take Hoyer would still take second based on countback, because Hoyer won those 3 races at the start of the year. Let's not forget, Siebel has only won 1 at Indianapolis. I say only, he's won a race, but he's won only 1 compared to Hoyer's 3 at the start of the year. So a second place for Siebel and a third for Hoyer would still be enough, despite the fact they are tied, of course, unless that fastest lap for Siebel would help him out. We'll wait and see. But Simicic going on the hunt right now for Siebel. For whatever reason, though, that mistake seems to have rattled Hoyer just a little bit. He's 2 seconds adrift from Siebel, and you'd think he'd just recover from that mistake and cling on to the back of Simicic, get back in the fray, but he's dropping further and further back now. Yeah,
that lap time is a 1:10.3. I wonder if Hoyer's tyres have just gone a little bit, whether he'll be able to bring them back, whether it's thermal degradation, he's able to just cool them down a little bit and get back onto the road properly. We'll have to wait and see. It does seem a little bit better, but yeah, it didn't look so comfortable behind the wheel the last couple of laps. So I wonder if this mistake is kind of sticking with the German. Either way, he set Simicic off, and he started to close down on Alex Siebel last lap. It was a 108.8, plays a 109.1 between Simicic and Alex Siebel respectively. Hoyer's one was a 10.3. Let's see across the line this time by from Alex Siebel, another 9.1, another 8.8 from Simicic, and back into the 9s with a 9.3 for Hoyer. So still a bit slower, but at least keeping the gap to Janis Brakchuk behind, which that will be the fear.
Well, yeah, absolutely, but no slipstream at the moment for for Hoyer on Simicic, which it can't be helping him right now. Simicic will be getting that tow again soon from Siebel here. He's just about at the right distance to be getting towed along that little bit, but it's all in Simicic's hands really, and Hoyer is going to be wanting him to try and win this race so that Siebel can not gather quite enough points to overtake him for second. It's going to be a fight right to the very end of this championship between the two of them. Lap 17 right now. We haven't got long left in this stint, and we're going to see a flurry of pit stops coming up very shortly. We've got about 12 of these. Well, I suppose all of them will be as well, apart from Vosnica, because even the guys who pitted early will be thirsty on fuel very shortly. So let's wait and see. Siebel looked like he might have been sticking it left for a brief moment there, but not quite. Simicic closes in again. The gap is now half a second, and the gap to Hoyer is now starting to extend even further and further. So, the battle for the lead getting interesting, but Hoyer not involved, and it doesn't look like he's going to be able to get back involved.
Yeah, like you say though, for Hoyer, this is not the worst thing in the world. Should Simicic be able to get ahead of Siebel, then yeah, you're absolutely right. It's looking good for Hoyer. He's just another bit of a snap. It is closing in between the two of them at the moment, as you're quite right. Spork, Van der Neet and Martin into the pit lane. Of course, Carlos Martin on those hard compound tyres at the moment has ticked off that requirement, and now will be running softs all the way through to the end of the race. A little bit disappointed in Spork's pace through this round. I'd seen some great stuff from Spork, but unfortunately it's not matching the circuit of Interlagos quite as well at present.
No, not just now. Fantastic run out of the final corner from Siebel on that occasion. He was looking like he might have even been under a bit of pressure there, but it completely alleviates that with a good run out of the final corner. Simicic follows him around one more time. So 18 laps completed now and nothing doing. Hoyer is into the pit lane though. Michi Hoyer comes into the pit lane trying to go for an undercut right now. And we'll see if this works, because if he wants to win this race, he has to do something to get back involved, because Siebel and Simicic are just going to go so quickly. It's going to be very, very... Oh, he has to reverse. and all kinds of undercut is surely gone out of the window there. And hard tyres it is for Hoyer, but an absolute disaster on the pit stop. Deary me, have to feel for him there. And he's not going to be getting back into those front three with that kind of mistake in the pit stops, no matter how good this undercut is.
No, that is a terrible shame. Easy to do, though, missing the box. Karen Rogers, Alt-Schuch, Ricardo Costa, Noah Roivers also into the pit lane. Thankfully, though, Hoyer is out in fresh air, but like you say, now needs to really light it up, and his focus will go the way of Janis Brakshock. Interesting to see that he's not gone for the strategy that he had done for those first wins that he had throughout the season, where it was running soft, hard. Alex Siebel into the pit lane. Jerne Simičić able to stay out. Obviously sat in the slipstream, was able to save fuel. Janis Brakshock also into the pit lane. So the Simičić triple world champion takes the lead.
He does indeed. Let's see if Siebel can have a better pit stop than Michi Hoyer did here. He slows down quite nicely and straight up onto the jacks. It's soft tyres here once again, and no surprises at all there. The engine looks to be off there. I can't see it. Oh, there it is. Back on again. Doesn't look like it's cost him any time at all. But here he comes out of the pit box again. And that looks to be all fine. Hoyer come down the pit lane right... the pit straight right now. Now, this is quite close, actually. This is closer than I was imagining. As he comes through turn 3 right now, Michi Hoyer is back in the game right now.
Oh, yeah?
He is very much on the case. And here he is on the back of Alex Siebel. That was unexpected, and you just wonder where he could have been without that overshoot. And talking of overshoots, he's just gone a little bit straight on into turn 4. Another mistake from Hoyer.
Okay, this will be... I'm going to take a wild stab in the dark. That is not down to the undercut that Michi Hoyer was doing. That wasn't down to pitting early and then going faster. I'm going to take a wild stab in the dark and say that is because he's taken less fuel on this stint to try and jump Alex Siebel. Obviously doesn't want to be on the hards for too long, so could be a shorter stint, maybe just 10 laps, maybe 15 from Hoyer, but maybe in the region of 10, 12 laps, as Simičić into the pit lane, locked up all the way into his box, able to come to a stop and able to go onto hards as well. So similar strategy from Simičić to Siebel here, and we'll see if Simičić can jump Siebel, who's on the start finish straight now. This one's going to be close, and I think this one is going to go in the favour of Simičić. Again, I'm pretty sure that is a lighter tank from the Slovenian.
Yeah, I'm very sure that it is a lighter tank and a short fill from the champion for 2021, and out in front he goes. So 20 laps completed, and we have a new race leader. Jerne Simičić consolidates his place at the front of the field. Now, can he hold off Alex Siebel until his pit stop, which is going to be coming up a little bit before the Germans, you would imagine? It's going to be a titanic fight between the two of them, though, you can imagine. And at this point here, Michi Hoyer is going to be second place in the championship with Alex Siebel in third. So it's changed around once again. But look at the pressure that the Red Bull eSports man is applying to the Burst eSport car just up in front right now. He is very, very close. Simičić trying to get up to speed with these hard tyres and a full tank of fuel, or at least a heavier car than he's had in the past. Out of the final corner they come. A little bit of weaving going on from Simičić. Takes the long way around the final gentle left-hand bend. Here comes the German. Can he get on the outside line and get through here? Is he going to be brave enough on the brakes? He's got the outside line. He's got the grip as well. And he has first place. Into the lead goes Alex Siebel. Jerne Simičić is in second. Michi Hoyer clinging on to the back. The coattails of these guys in third. Nothing doing for Simičić, down into fourth. So Siebel definitely now consolidates his lead and is going to try and go into the distance.
Yeah, Jan Vosnitzer, by the way, retirement from the race, so no more Zanto SimSport in the FSR World Championship of 2021. Siebel, like you say, back to the lead of the race, and we'll start clearing off. Jerne Simičić taking a bit of the iRacing line, going through the final corner, trying to run all the way out there. It was a little bit dodgy, a little bit dangerous, and unfortunately, didn't really work out. I think that regardless of the line, he could have perfected that final corner with every single layer, brake, throttle, everything. That Red Bull was going through there and then. I don't think there was anything Simičić could do about it. Siebel's straight line speed and pace on these softer tyres was just too hard for Simičić to manage. But you know that this will come back down to it. Simičić is obviously very good at just sitting in the slipstream. I think it might be a little bit too much to try and hang on to Siebel at the moment. But for all the hard tyres that Simičić has to take, Siebel has to do it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got to take 2 hard tyre sets throughout this race, let's not forget. Or indeed, if you take one in qualifying, then it's only one, but all of these guys qualified on the soft compounded tyres, so it's going to be 2 sets of hards, and both of the Burst eSport cars getting them both out of the, or one of them out of the way right now. Siebel is going to have 2 sets of hards to end this race off. That would have looked good in a drift show, but I'm afraid we're not in one, and Mitchy Hoyer's losing time right now in 3rd position. 2.2 seconds now off of Siebel. Just ever since he made that one mistake, it was through turn 2 and 3, he went off into the AstroTurf just a little bit, and Simoncic overtook him, and ever since then, it hasn't looked like Mitchy Hoyer's been able to get into his rhythm at all.
Kind of, I mean, it's not the most rhythm-based circuit. In the central part of the lap, if you're knocked off at like turn 4, it is quite hard to jump back on it. But you've got this big, long, yes, it's curved, it's kinked up towards the top of the hill. But from Jinchao around to the Senna S, and even then on that run down the Retro Apostle to Bigo de Pato, you've got plenty of time to reset yourself and get ready. And for whatever reason, Hoyer has not been able to jump back into the Brazilian Grand Prix mentally. It's as if he's sort of just gone a little bit there. We'll have to see towards the end of the race. He might well reignite himself and go on a bit of a charge later on. He's done that a few times. Did that when it came to his first race victory in the Formula SimRacing World Championship at the Malaysian Grand Prix of 2020, managing to just ignite himself at the right moment, dragged his way back into contention for the race when he went round the outside of Jernej Simoncic at the very last corner of the race, as we ride on board with Noah Roivers on the rear end of Ricardo Costa on the hard tyres for the Epic Racing car, and edge both of their cars on the soft. As my questions of sports pace, he's looking a little bit better now on those softer tyres, trying to close down to Janis Brakshock and consolidate this top 5.
Yeah, absolutely. He's looking better and better the longer this race goes on, but Ricardo Costa now is probably going to have his white flag out here, because Noah Roivers is on the soft tyres and Ricardo Costa is on the hards and weaving around a little bit. I don't know what that message is, but they're both weaving now, and this is getting a little bit messy. Roivers gets down to the inside line though, and by the way that Costa broke early there, that weave says to me that weave meant please go through now, it's alright, I'm not going to fight you, but I wouldn't have known that before it happened. Little bit of a strange moment there, really, I have to be honest, but Noah Roivers gets through with no real arguments, and that's the way that they probably both would have liked it to play out.
I was driving directly behind someone who then just started wiggling at the best part of 320k. I'd be like, do I go through? Do I not? What do I do? And, well, yeah, clearly Ricardo Costa wasn't really fighting that one. There's a little bit of a wiggle afterwards as well that nearly caused an accident, but all is well and good. Ricardo Costa just driving to his own strategy at the moment. And Dennis Jordan, by the way, 14th spot on the racetrack, obviously 56 seconds down on Alex Siebel, just at the fastest lap of the race, fresh out of the pit lane on some brand new soft tyres, a 108.3. So obviously much faster than quite a lot of other drivers on this grid. The only ones that are quite close are the leaders, running an 8.8 and an 8.7 between Siebel and Simoncic, by the way, doing an 8.7, so keeping very much in that slipstream and in the DRS range. DRS range? There's no DRS, never mind. Keeping well within the slipstream of Alex Siebel at the moment, but I mean, realistically, this is kind of like, I'm sure Dennis Jordan will be sat there thinking, ugh. Well, so there's some good pace in the bin.
Yeah, exactly. And Siebel really need to use some good pace right now, to be honest, to get rid of Simoncic, because the slipstream that the Slovenian is getting is crucial to his result in this race. Yeah. They're both going exceptionally quickly. You can see the gaps further behind. They're just getting further and further away from the leader, despite the gaps closing in between them, between themselves. Siebel and Simoncic, the class of the field, here once again today, and there's no reason to suggest that we'll be seeing a lot more of this next year. And indeed in the coming years. They've been fantastic over the last few, as we go through completing another lap 27 right now, with Siebel still leading Simoncic, teetering over that 1 second mark, this gap right now. And the difference between these two is that the tyre compounds, of course, Siebel's supposed to be running away from Simoncic at this point, but he's not quite able to do so just for the moment. A little bit further back, Colin Spork is trying to close on Janis Brakshock. That is the battle for 4th place that may happen before the pit stops, although I kind of doubt it. But one that I do think will happen in the very near future is Zoltzux and Carlos Martin. They're only a second and a half apart at the moment, and Martin is on those soft compound tyres. He'll be looking to get through, and just look, Cam Rogers only in 11th place. Points very much on the card for our Cam in this race.
Yeah, he needs to score a point. He's yet to score a point, I think, in the FSR World Championship, and that's what he is aiming for. Whilst, he's done all right. I won't say great. It's done all right elsewhere back in the Pro Championship. Always a bit of a theme for the final round of the season that Cam Roger jumps in, failed to score. Such a hard way of putting it, but failed to score a point anyway in the previous attempts. This is the one where he's confident, he feels good. Whether it will be able to come out in that fashion, we'll have to wait and see. Might need a bit of luck to swing his way, as some of it already did, you could argue, in the earlier stages. But pace seems all right out of Roger, and already ticked off both of the hard tyres as well. So once again, it is softs all the way to the end of the race for Roger. So realistically, from this point, it should be getting a little bit better and a little bit better. And you never know where he might march his way into in the second half of this race, approaching that checkered flag. Already halfway through this second stint, though, and that gap at the front is absolutely locked to a second. It is not going any bigger than that.
Yeah, absolutely, and the pace between them is absolutely static in terms of their consistency. They're going exceptionally quickly, but every single time they are doing it almost to the thousandth. They are doing it exactly the same every single lap. It's very, very impressive indeed as we go on board with Carlos Martin. It's not been a great season for AFP, it has to be said. They haven't scored a single point in this season, and indeed they've not been here since round 6 of the championship. But back on the grid here for the final race of the year with Carlos Martin, who normally drives for Netrex, and Cam Roger, we've just been talking about. This is one of the battles that may be closing in the coming moments. But one of my next questions, really, we won't know the answer for the next 10 laps or so, is that when is Simoncic going to pit? How much has he short-filled on this stint? Because we believe he has, based on the pit stop times and the way he came out in front of Siebel. We think he has short-filled, but just by how much is the big question to me right now.
Well, I think the answer, we'll get an answer on Simoncic a lap earlier, because I'm pretty sure that Hoyer will also be in about a lap or two prior, because I think he's on very much the same strategy.
Yeah,
we'll have to wait and see.
We're just trying to listen and talk at the same time about these pit stop times. I heard Sable's pit stop was 13 seconds. I didn't quite catch Simoncic's time. 12 seconds, there we are. So he did get a second, and Hoyer, let's not forget, overshot his box a little bit, which can't help. He did 10 seconds of a pit stop, but he overshot his box, which kind of negates some of that, unfortunately. So, yeah, disappointing for Hoyer, definitely. But he should be in first by the sounds of that, and Simoncic will be in just a little bit before Siebel. But clearly he had a very impressive in-lap. I'll have to say I was expecting 2 or 3 seconds of a shorter pit stop for Simoncic, but in the end it was only 1 second quicker, and he wasn't, he just came out in front of Siebel, yes, but, Siebel should have been having the undercut, in my opinion, so clearly there was a very good in-lap going on there from the Slovenian.
Well, I mean, how classic Simoncic do you want? I mean, this is the very definition where he waits until that very last moment. He's kept gripping his tyres, hammer time, does the in-lap and does very, very well in it. Not pitting this time by, of course. I mean, realistically speaking, the tyre differential around here shouldn't be extreme. It shouldn't be overwhelmingly major. It's just Simoncic knows how to wring the neck of the car right now. And the other question will be is if Siebel sort of sat there looking at Simoncic in his mirror and realising that gap's not growing, he might well have just toned the pace down ever so slightly just to make sure the tyres don't overheat. Because right now, the last few laps of this stint, he has started to pull back out again. And remember that he's definitely going to be going for another sort of 10 or so laps, is Alex Siebel. So maybe taking advantage in the second half of the stint, as Simoncic might well be pushing a little bit too hard on the harder tyres. I've always said this, when it comes to the tyre differential, when you've got softs and hards, at least in sim racing terms these days, you almost always want to pick the soft tyre, because it's easier to get a soft tyre and then drive it a little bit slower down to hard pace, and then they just last longer because you're not pushing them too hard, you're not going into the thermal thermal cycle and going a little bit too over than it is to take the hard tyres at the limit of their pace, where they start hitting that wall of thermal degradation after 10, 15 laps. In that sense, it's why the soft tyres are the best. It's not only that they're just faster, it's that you can actually make them go just as long, if not a little bit longer, if you know what you're doing. And let's be honest, Siebel, Simoncic, Hoyer, Jordan, they all know what they're doing. They've all raced an awful lot together when it comes to tyre conserving and fuel conserving types of racing.
Yeah, absolutely. They know what they're doing. There's no doubt about that. And it's all about the thermal and the heat with these tyres. You can't overheat them, otherwise you are doomed. So you just got to be careful with your tyres and make sure they stay within the operating window. Not quite sure what's happened to Cam Roger. We're on board with him right now. He was not too far behind.
Mate.
Well, I don't know. He was not too far away from Carlos Martin there in the last few moments, and knocking on the door of a top 10. But now he's in 11th he was in 11th before, but he's still in 11th. What I'm saying is he's getting caught from Leonov behind, which is not what we want to see. But we're just on board with him for a few moments. He hasn't made a mistake while we're on board. It would be fairly amusing, but no, I want him to get a point. I can't lie. I do want him to get. I know we're not supposed to be supporting people, but it would be nice to see him get a point. As you said earlier, though, it looks like he might need a bit of luck on his side for that to happen.
We're allowed to be biased every now and then. It's fine. It would be a nice story, but I do get the feeling that someone, like you say, someone needs to pop inside the top 10 right now. Should Cameron Roger be able to score his point today? And like you say, Leonov is closing on those harder compound tyres. That could be for a whole number of reasons, but right now it doesn't matter what the reasons are. The answer to the question is yes, he is being caught, and Leonov is there and knocking at the door as we focus on Michi Hoyer. I get the feeling from this point on for Hoyer, this might well be a fairly boring Grand Prix and a boring way to end the season for him. Still can get second in the championship, but at this point, it does seem as if it's a bit out of his hands.
Yes, he's relying on his teammate Joni Simoncic. There's no doubt about Simoncic's faithfulness towards Hoyer, though. I think he's going to push as hard as possible to try and get that for him, but it's not in his hands, as you say. It's into the pit lane comes the 3-time race winner from this season, 4 times overall in the World Championship. Not going to be adding to that list today, you wouldn't imagine. Let's see, can he get into his pit box a little bit nicer on this occasion? Because if you remember, he overshot this pit box 15 laps ago, and this time around he goes up straight onto the jack. So it's another hard tyre stint for him. Where's he going to come out? He wants to be in front of the train of Van der Neet, Zooks and Martin, I would say, but he's running out of time to get out in front of them right now. Here's the pit exit. Oh, it's going to be quite close. I would not want to go through all 3 of those guys if I was Hoyer. Now it's going to be side by side with Zooks. It looks like, with Van der Neet, who's heading this train. Van der Neet gets through. What about Zooks just in behind? No, not quite. So Michi Hoyer does indeed embed himself within this train. It's not the end of the world, but it's also not what he would have wanted. He would have liked to have nobody to overtake, ideally.
Well, hopefully Cam Rogers not on his the pit wall this round, in the consideration that Cam Rogers in the race normally doing some of the strategy for burst. It is Cass Riedel pulling that strategy. I think might well have miscalculated at Van der Neet's pace, but Hoyer would be very, very important for him to waste no time behind Van der Neet. He's in good position to not waste any time behind the NetRex driver. Basically needs to nail this corner right now. Van der Neet's in a little bit too deep. This should be a pretty easy pass for the German. We'll have to wait and see on that rise up towards turn 1. He's got to go around the outside. Van der Neet comes into the pit lane anyway. There you go. Helpful. Easiest pass.
Yes, very helpful indeed for Van der Neet, for Hoyer, for Van der Neet to come into the pit lane there, and so that prevents Van der Neet from getting overtaken from Zooks, which looked like it was going to happen pretty shortly. The Polish driver is going to be under pressure from Carlos Martin in the next few moments, you would imagine. But let's wait and see on that one. Back up towards the front, Siebel versus Simoncic is still going on, but Simoncic is going to have to come into the pit lane very shortly. He's got a little bit less fuel in the car than the Red Bull man in front, and they both continue on across lap 35 as we approach half distance in this race here once again. Nearly 15 seconds on back to Janusz Brakszock. And Michi Hoyer is going to be somewhere in the middle there. Does this early pit stop give even the slightest hope to Michi Hoyer that he could get back in with these three? Or, as you said earlier, is it going to be the most boring race he's ever had?
I genuinely think that Hoyer is in for a fairly boring race. I mean, again, great to be on the Formula Sim Racing World Championship podium, but I'm sure we'll catch up with him post-race. Should it finish like that? ... We don't know yet. Of course, still early days in the race, considering we're just passing the halfway point. But right now for Hoyer, like I say, it just looks like he is going to be driving around. Might as well looks forward to the move that he was going to put on Van Den Neat, but then was like, oh, no, he's going to the pit lane. Never mind. I'll just continue to drive around completely by myself. Nice bit of fresh air. As you would wish. Simicic been able to close back into Siebel, obviously using the hard tyres towards the end of the stint. They've dropped off pace quite a bit, not too far. I think Simicic might be in this time by.
He is indeed. So let's wait and see. Locking up into the pit box, but into the pit lane, but makes it in, makes the pit lane speed, and here we go with Simicic. Is it going to be another set of hard tyres like his teammate, or is he going to go for something a little bit weird? Let's wait and see. Goes to the end of the pit lane and up on the jacks for another set of hard tyres. Siebel is definitely going to be putting on hard tyres at this pit stop, which is coming up very shortly, but he's going to have soft tyres. But Simicic is going to have soft tyres towards the end. So this is an exceptionally important stage of the race coming up. This stint is arguably going to decide if Siebel has even looking at winning this or not. If Siebel comes into the end of this stint behind Simicic, I think it's over pretty much. Very, very important coming up for Siebel here.
Well, I mean, Siebel's final pit stop should theoretically be ever so slightly shorter than Simicic's, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. I think Siebel will go out for another couple of laps, although might actually box to counter the undercut that Simicic might get here. I've got my eye on Siebel, who is just carrying around. He is just continuing to do laps at the moment. The Red Bull Racing eSports man, a bit of a miss of the box there from Jeff Fournier. And Cameron Roger, the legend, departs pit lane a lap down.
Yeah, not a legendary drive at the moment.
Yeah, I built that up a little bit too much, and then just like, he's a lap down, it's fine.
Yeah, let's not forget we're still waiting for Alex Siebel to come into the pit lane for the second time today, so that has distorted things a little bit. But Ivan Leonov has jumped Cam Roger in this pit stop cycle, which isn't ideal. Let's put it that way in terms of Cam Roger's search for points in this one. Alex Siebel is going to be the last man to come into the pit lane for the second time then. Dennis Jordan is up there right now and in 7th, but that's only because he has made 2 stops already and he's not made his 3rd. Let's not forget he lost his front wing on the run down towards turn 1 for the very first time. An uncharacteristic mistake from him scattered the field and scattered his front wing as well, I'm afraid. So he's recovering and looking at a pretty lowly finish to end off his year. Alex Siebel then, is it going to be another lap or not? It looks like the answer to that is no. He comes into the pit lane here for the second time today. We know what compound of tyre it's going to be, but how much fuel is there going to be into this car? And is he going to be out in front of this man? That's the big question.
Going to be tight. I think it may well swing the way of... actually, I think... Okay, so looking at the times, based on the current lap times that Jone Simic has been setting, the ones that Siebel has been doing out on circuit have been faster over the last couple of sectors. So it should be Siebel back out into the race lead. You can see there, if you look at the dots on the map, it's going to be tight. Here comes Siebel down the hill. Jone Simic flying at racing speed. Simic is jumping up into the lead of this race, and I think that is pretty much it. Slam and dunk. And Jone Simic well clear.
Wow, that is a big, big margin. 2 seconds in the end. Simic has had an absolutely storming out lap here because he's 2.5 seconds in front of Alex Siebel as the gap just recalculates. Michi Hoyer is 6 seconds adrift from his teammate right now, but the world champion just stamping his authority all over this race once again. He's only won 3 times this year, which is a little bit lowly for him. He often wins a little bit more, but looks like he might well be taking his 4th race win of the season, and we've only just gone over half distance. It's been a formidable drive from him so far. Siebel has to get onto the back of the world champion now. He has to jump him in the next pit stop cycle, and only then has he got even a chance of winning this race. because Simicic has got more favourable tyre compounds coming up, and he's got over a 2-second lead. He's in a formidable position.
Yeah, we'll wait and see on that one. I think Siebel needs a stint of his life. I think he might actually start to resent Michi Hoyer a little bit, will Alex Siebel. And that was a very interesting line from Brackshock there on that run into turn one. I always forget that it's concrete, not grass on the right hand side in the braking zone there. And I say that about Siebel to Hoyer because this would be the second consecutive year that he would be, if this was to finish as it is, that he would be beaten by Hoyer in some fashion. Obviously last year it was the team's championship, this year it would be for second in the drivers' championship, where he'd be beaten by Hoyer in some fashion by 0 points. That would be really quite annoying.
Late on in the day as well, second half of the final race of the season. It was even later on in the last race.
It was very late on, yeah.
It was exceptionally late. I think it was about 4 laps to go. We were calculating the maths and it was very, very complicated and losing our brains pretty much at
this.
Yeah, there's a little bit less maths involved really, because if either of them win, then straight through second place, no arguments at all. But on this occasion, there is not much maths either, but also not in favour of Alex Siebel, despite the fact that he's gaining 3 points on Michi Hoyer right now. Just to reiterate, there will be only level on points, and by dint of his 3 race wins at the start of this year, Michi Hoyer would win the tiebreaker 3-1 in terms of the race wins. So there you go. But Simicic is looking like he's going to have the most race wins of everybody in this season. 4 to his name if you can carry off this one, and 4 race wins despite the fact we've had 5 different race winners throughout this year. Jurni Simicic, Michi Hoyer, Alex Siebel, Dennis Jordan and Petter Burdak have all won races so far, and that's a pretty decent record. 5 out of 11, 5 different race winners in 11 races. Not bad whatsoever. A fairly decent spread of race winners, and 5 very, very accomplished names as well to have been up there in this season.
Yeah, all of them quality drivers. I will say, by the way, when it comes to this little battle, there is one thing that we could be looking forward to. So gaps come down a tenth of a second that lap, and a little bit more, I think, even on that run through the centre S down to Jurni Simicic. So Siebel is starting to catch. There is one other factor that might well sort out who's going to finish second in the championship, because Michi Hoyer is being caught by Janis Brackshock around about 3/4 of a second a lap at the moment, and Brackshock's on the soft tyres, yes. They both have to run hard on the... Oh, sorry, no, Michi Hoyer will be on the soft in the next stint. Yes, fair enough. But with Brackshock's position right now, if he's able to get ahead, might well be able to battle it out with Hoyer for that final spot on the podium. Who doesn't want a podium to end the season? Brackshock's focus is only on that, not on second in the championship. He doesn't really care about that. And so might well try and put in a valiant effort to try and rob the podium from Hoyer, which would give Siebel second in the championship. We'll have to wait and see if Brackshock, the Hungarian, can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. The next 15 laps in that battle are going to be very important indeed, because Brackshock, as you mentioned, has hards at the ends, and Michi Hoyer will have softs. So the Hungarian has to come out of the pit lane for the final time in front of Michi Hoyer and hope that he can cling on at that point. However, Brackshock's going to fight hard for this one. He's only ever had 2 World Championship podiums in the past, so he's not going to pass up the opportunity to get another one. And as you mentioned, he's not really got any association with Alex Siebel or Michi Hoyer. I don't think he cares who wins out of the 2 of them in terms of the second place, to my knowledge anyway. So yeah, he's going to want the podium for himself, and you never know what could happen between the 2. 6 seconds is the margin though, and that's still a fairly large gap to be closing down. As I said though, the next 15 laps or so are going to be crucial in the fight for second in the championship. If indeed that gap doesn't come down enough, and if Brackshock doesn't come out in front of Hoyer, then I think we can pretty much say that it's over. Siebel's not done with Simicic yet though. He's got the gap down by about half a second in the last few laps as well. So still things going on, still battles to be monitoring over the last few laps of this season.
Yeah, closed down another 10th this lap that's just been completed. The lap before they were separated by just 1,000th of a second, but Siebel's charging right now. Simincic, I think, is driving a little bit within himself, looking after the tyres for the final part of this stint. And you were saying there of Brackshock, obviously having a couple of podiums. Has been in contention for 2 victories before, at least to recent memory, which was earlier this year, was involved in that 3-way fight between Alex Siebel, Michi Hoyer and himself at the German Grand Prix a bit earlier in this season at round number 3, which Hoyer ended up winning anyway, courtesy of good strategy, obviously, from that pole position. He was also in contention against Jerne Simoncic and Martin Gosby at the Italian Grand Prix in 2019, where he went a little bit wonky on strategy, and ACR had to do the catch-up legwork in the second half of the race, and it ended up in an enormous incident, which, whatever it is, what it is, round Curva Grande. I might have annoyed my housemates by shouting about that. It was so tight. Fantastic stuff to see. Right now, though, it does seem to be going into the hands of Hoyer, but like you say, you never really know. The gap is coming down again, another 700ths of a second. It's not coming down by enough, but each time that Siebel gets a bit closer, he gets into that slipstream, might be a little bit easier to catch.
Yeah, absolutely. I love how you just said, I annoyed the hell out of my housemates. It was fantastic to see.
Yeah, great stuff.
Great. It made me chuckle a little bit. But yeah,
didn't annoy me either. It was a great time.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Siebel closes in to Simoncic, as you say. The gap's really coming down in small increments at the moment, but one much closer battle that we're seeing right now, a little bit further down, is between Ricardo Costa, Danny van der Neet, Zolt Zooks and Carlos Martin. To a degree, those final two are trying to get involved. You can see in this camera shot, that is Zooks coming around turn 3, and just in the background there is Carlos Martin, the Spaniard, in the top 10 here once again in 2021. He seems to be doing fantastic. He seems to be doing it a lot. 6-point scoring finishes so far in the 7 races that he's had so far. He's been a very consistent driver when he's been here, but only been here for about half of the races, which is a little bit unfortunate. Ricardo Costa's going to have a very busy next 10 laps or so, though, because he's got the hard tyres on. He's going to have softs on at the end, admittedly, but everybody behind him has got the softs on, and Van der Neet's going to want to go through as quickly as possible because he doesn't want Zooks involved in this fight.
Van der Neet does have to run the hard tyres on the next stint, but Zolt Schuch, Carlos Martin, they will also be on the softs for that final stint, both having ticked off their requirement over the earlier stage of the race. Schuch did a double stint on the hards through the first couple of stints of the race, as Van der Neet misses the apex quite a bit from T1. Carlos Martin obviously qualified on the hard compound tyre and has marched his way up throughout this race. Also, we are going to have Battle of the Generations, as Cam Roger and Dennis Jordan will go toe-to-toe in a few laps, because let's be real here, Cam. Dennis Jordan's catching you just a little bit, about a second a lap on the hard compound tyres. The Red Bull Racing eSports man closing in on the AFP driver outside of the top 10. I say AFP. Oh, see you, mate. That's Ricardo Costa wide. There's contact.
And Ricardo Costa is hanging on for the moment, and he shuts the door on the exit. Here comes Zolt Zooks in the background, looking to the inside of the Bica de Pato, and not quite enough. Danny van der Neet's turn to shut the door on somebody else. That was a huge moment coming through turn 7 there. Big slide for Ricardo Costa on the way in. Nearly went in rear first, actually, but he managed to get himself back on the straight and narrow again. And he's holding on for the moment from the NetRex driver just in behind. Zolt Zooks is trying to get involved as well, or was, but can't do so. So they go into turn 1 once again. Can Van der Neet have another go? Ricardo Costa wide again, seriously looking in the mirrors a little bit too much and making a couple of mistakes here. Now maybe this is the turn of Van der Neet to go through here once again. Turn 4 coming up. Is he going to have to go round the outside and make this a big squeeze, and not quite having the grip to do that? Zooks is going to have a run on the both of them coming up the hill towards Ferradura. Outside line, maybe. No, not quite brave enough to go for it through there. That would have been spectacular, but he's not quite gone for it for the moment. Tension's starting to run high in this group now.
did catch Adam Rainey pulling a move around the outside at Ferradura earlier in the day in Academy. Not many other drivers have given it a go. It's not really one that you can do so, but I mean, if you can get there, you can get there. It's just takes a lot of bravery, and it takes a lot of faith and respect in the other driver you're battling with. And same as around the outside at T4, as there's a bit of a snap there from Zoltschuk. Just not going to be able to close in on Van der Neet, and Ricardo Costa's exit I think has been good enough from Jun Chao and will clearly lead down into the Centre S. Like I say, around circuits that I've had good battles on, this I will always throw back to it when it comes to great battles I've been thankfully a part of. Around here, I've been a part of one of the best battles I've ever enjoyed in sim racing, and it was fantastic because you can go side by side everywhere as long as you're racing with someone who you trust. And right now, Ricardo Costa, Danny Van der Neet, Zoltschuk, they're all seeming to struggle with their own cars, let alone trying to go side by side with someone else's.
Yeah, struggling with their own cars and struggling with each other at the moment as well, trying to battle for supremacy. It's all playing into the hands of Ricardo Costa at this point, though, because let's not forget, Van der Neet's got those hard tyres to put on at the end. I don't think he's going to be winning out in this battle for 7th position. However, Costa and Zooks are going to be battling to the line, I would just suspect, for that position. But only if Ricardo Costa can keep him behind for as long as possible. Van der Neet is not getting a good run out of Jun Chao on these laps. He's really not getting the power down in the way that is conducive to overtakes into turn 1. Zooks is going to take advantage of that now. Outside line goes the HME driver, and can he break it late enough? No, not quite. Van der Neet breaks late and they go side by side, but Zooks has got the grip. There's a bit of contact between the two. Van der Neet pushing Zooks through the second part of that chicane, and now Zooks is into 8th position. He can set his sights on Ricardo Costa in front.
Yeah, good effort. Nice bit of action there, but I mean, close. Very, very close. You do that a couple of times and someone's going to be ending up in the barrier. Thankfully not on this occasion, all managing to stick out on the racetrack as things get pretty tight there. The gap for the race lead started going out in favour of Jone Simicic, and Alex Siebel's just not able to keep in touch. We're getting at least a nice thrilling fight here, and that fight for Roger and Jordan's also getting quite close. This one is definitely the closest battle on the racetrack. Carlos Martin has been clawing his way bit by bit up into the fight. Still a little bit outside it, but if they're going to battle like that, it won't be long before he's here.
Yes, absolutely. Martin is getting involved, or will be involved, you have to suspect. Here comes Zoltschuk, though. A second opportunity in 2 laps, this time on Ricardo Costa. Carbon copy move, outside line, but this time Costa puts up more of a resistance. Around the outside through the second part, gives him the inside for the third, and he holds on to 7th place. He's trying to hold on for as long as possible, but he's fighting a losing battle right now. Into turn 4 they go. Zooks on the outside line again. Not quite enough. Cut back, crisscross. Can he do it? Not really. Got the traction to do that. But he's got some slipstream. It would take a brave man to go for it here. As we said earlier, not able to on this occasion. Ricardo Costa holding on well, defending well, you have to say.
Yeah, there we go. Not quite able to fight back was Zoltschuk there, and very, very tight indeed. 20 laps to go. Final pit stop coming in. Probably in more so 10 laps time, but this is the point where some teams, some drivers might well be going for the undercut. And in this battle, don't know about you, but I'd be sat here thinking, well, I want to get out of this if I'm not mistaken, because realistically, you can, if they're going to battle this hard, you can jump it. If you're like Carlos Martin, you've reached the back of it. If you initiate your final pit stop a little bit earlier than you'd necessarily want, for one, you've already got fuel on the tank, so your actual pit stop will be slightly faster. That's a nice little bonus point. But also, running around in a bit of clean air, definitely going to help right now, and you might well jump the entire group.
Absolutely. I mean, a very interesting point as Cam Rogers just defending from Dennis Jordan. Yeah, but yeah, to be fair, I want Danny Van der Neet to come out in front of everybody and then have to defend for the end of the race. That would be fantastic. But, as a spectator point of view, that would be great, but I doubt that will happen somehow. Here's Dennis Jordan, by the way, on the back of Cam Rogers has just said he's on hard tyres, Rogers on soft tyres, but there's a bit of a talent difference going on here, as you can see. Roger was off on the left, right-hand side. Cam's not watching, it's all right. Just off onto the right-hand side of the AstroTurf. And Jordan's going to have an overtake here in the near future, I would imagine.
There is a bit of a time difference, though. I will back you up on that. Dennis Jordan's a proper quality driver, and it's Cam, isn't it? But I mean, realistically speaking, this is surely one of those battles where it's going to happen at some point. Although I will say Cameron Roger is going to put up a fight here. It might well be for 12, doesn't really matter, as Carlos Martin, I must be listening, he's jumped straight into pit lane, is backing out of this fight, doesn't want to be a part of it, as obviously going on the defence is Cameron Roger, was holding it to the inside. That Red Bull, though, not quite fast enough in the slipstream to jump Roger right now, as Carlos Martin's pit sequence initiate, obviously going to go out onto the soft tyres for the final stint of the race.
He is indeed. Let's look at Jordan again into turn 4. Not really close enough at all on this occasion, I'm afraid. So Cam Rogers going to stay in front for the moment. And there we are, kind of confirmed to us in that camera shot. Michi Hoyer comes into the pit lane. 19 laps to go for him right now, and it's going to be soft tyres towards the end. Braxock got within 3 seconds on those softs, but given the fact he's putting on hards towards the end... Oh, Hoyer has to reverse again for the second time today. Dear oh dear, Hoyer's not been nailing his pit stops by any stretch of the imagination, but you'd think that he will be okay over Braxock in terms of holding on to that third position, that all-important third position.
Yeah, that was a proper 11 out of 10 move, unfortunately. But, like I say, it's kind of one of those things. You miss the pit box once, easy to miss it for a second time. He's stationary for a very long time.
Yeah, that was long. That was very long. His engine was off there briefly.
Couldn't restart the car, yeah.
His engine was off, so... some kind of problem for Michi Hoyer, and all of a sudden, second place in the championship, not quite looking so secure anymore. Jonas Braxock may have the chance to get his third ever FSR World Championship podium, and Michi Hoyer may be resigned to third in the championship. Let's wait and see. His teammate Jerne Simicic is into the pit lane as side by side behind. Dennis Jordan right round the outside of Cam Roger, not able to do it there, and he has to stay behind just for the moment. Tries to go up the inside of Ferradura, not able to. Roger just slides his way in, but holds on to what is now 9th place as some guys are coming to the pit lane. Zooks and Danny van der Neet included in that. Zooks has jumped van der Neet, and van der Neet, the Netrex driver, is on soft tyres. Thought he had to take hards actually towards the end, but apparently everybody's going to be on softs towards the end in that four-way fight we were seeing for 7th.
I'm going to double check that. I think he does have to be on the on the softs. It depends on what he's run in qualifying, which I'm pretty sure he wasn't one of those drivers that did take the hards. He didn't. He took soft across the 3 stints he did in qualifying. So needs to come into the pit lane once again then to service that and get out on hards. He's run soft, hard, soft. So far in this race as Van der Neet, so might well be a slam dunk disqualification if he doesn't return to pit lane and switch tyres out. Easy mistake to make, but alas, the mistake has been made as Leonov exits pit lane from his stop, and Roger still able to keep Dennis Jordan at bay for now.
He is for the moment. It's a bit of a good car in a straight line, I have to be honest, for Cam Rogers, helping him out a little bit. Or maybe Dennis Jordan's got a poor car in a straight line, not sure.
You trim the wings out because it means you're hard to pass in a straight line. That is what the talentless driver does. So, I can relate on that topic.
We're ripping into him now.
It's true, though. If you don't need to defend, if you just go onto the straight, press the throttle down, and you're faster than everyone else.
Well, yeah, but it takes some talent to hang on through the corners, is what I'm saying. Just
not if you have it so that it's a boaty car, understeery. Then you don't really have to hang on.
Anyway, well, to be fair, Cam's car doesn't look too understeery the way he's been driving it. Into the pit lane anyway, so the battle is resolved. He follows Noah Roivers, Ricardo Costa in as well. Ricardo Costa will be interesting to see where he comes out in relation to Zooks and also Van der Neet. But here is our race leader just for the moment, Alex Siebel. Not going to be race winner by the looks of things, but you never know. There could be a slip up later on from this man, Jerne Simicic, who is our net race leader. Now, Jonas Braxock is into the pit lane. This is absolutely crucial now. Where is he going to come out in relation to Michi Hoyer in this race? He pulls into his box right now. It's hard tyres, a lot of defending coming up, but if he can come out in front, then he will have the advantage in that respect, I suppose. And all of a sudden, Michi Hoyer has got a race on his hands.
Yeah, he's going to be way ahead, absolutely way ahead. That's how much time Michi Hoyer has lost. This is big for second in the championship, and now it is attack mode for Michi Hoyer over the final 15 laps of this race. How much do you want second in the championship, buddy? Because you've got to grab third now. It has to be third.
It absolutely has to be. Simoncic can't really do anything to assist him at this point. There are no other Burst G-Sport cars for him to call upon. Normally there are 4 of them up towards the front. Roachek's very often inside the top 5 and can help him out in a situation like this, but both David Roachek and Tom Oldermenger were crashed out at the end of lap 1, so they can be of no assistance whatsoever other than emotional assistance, I suppose. But at the moment, not going well for the German. Into the pit lane comes his compatriot Alex Siebel in this race. Ricardo Costa did get out just in front of Van der Neep, by the way. I'm not sure if that was Costa getting through on the NetRex car. I don't think it was, but anyway, it's a close battle between the 3 of them for 7th place, which is what it will be when Dennis Jordan comes into the pit lane for the final time. Here comes Alex Siebel. Out of the pit lane he goes. Yoni Simoncic in the foreground on soft tyres, Siebel's on hards, and the gap continues to grow. Simoncic has just got to stroke it home from here.
The yellow flag, by the way, is just Jeff Fournier getting out of the way. There he is for Epic Racing, jumping out. I think it might have been a bit of a spin down into T4 for the Frenchman. He's not enjoyed the greatest of seasons so far in the Formula Sim Racing World Championship, but has been here for quite a lot of it. Always qualified on the hard compound tyre. Let's see what happens to him. Is it going to be down into reverse? Nope, just a little bit too much speed in, and the rear's just like, nah, mate, you're going for a bit of a spin. Just ruined the tyres, didn't get any damage. It's all right. Could have been worse.
There goes your race leader, and goes second place, the left-hand sider in a few moments' time. There he is, Alex Siebel. So, yeah, that could have been worse, but Fournier managed to get out of the way in time. He has indeed actually scored 1 point this season so far, and it looks like it's going to stay that way. That was at the Azure Grand Prix, where things fell apart for many others, but he managed to pick his way through the chaos and drive very well indeed to get up into 10th position. He's finished 5th in the World Championship in the past, let's not forget. In 2019 he had a fantastic run, which included a podium at the French Grand Prix to get himself into 5th place in that championship. So we know he can do it. It's just not really been his season. It's not been a really epic season for Epic Racing, I'm afraid. They've only scored 1 point, and Ricardo Costa hasn't had any, but he looks like he's going to get at least a couple today, maybe even more. He could double his tally with an overtake on Zolt Zooks right now. Into turn 1 they go. Zooks defends very early. Oh my goodness, Costa brakes so late, and he's going to get it done. That was fantastic driving from Ricardo Costa. Zolt Zooks defending when he really didn't need to, braking much earlier than he needed to, and that was a bit easier for Ricardo Costa than it really should have been.
Yeah, really nice move. Just made that one stick. Nice clean one around the outside. Didn't waste time on it. Of course, they will gain an extra position once Dennis Jordan jumps into pit lane. We'll take another look at it. In the slipstream, like I said, just weaving over. Can see that Ricardo Costa's catching. Goes over to the inside and then just brakes early. You're absolutely right. Did not really need to do it, and then just got on the brakes a little bit too cautiously. Of course, a much narrower run on the left-hand side, but I mean, Ricardo Costa was on a charge there. Has just set a personal best lap of the race over that run as well, 1:08.8, and is just continuing to pull away from this group. Unfortunately, sorry to be the bearer of bad news, by the way, Michi Hoyer fans, that gap is not coming down enough as Dennis Jordan is into the pit lane. It's 7.2 seconds at the moment between Hoyer and Brackshock. It's coming down 4-5 tenths a lap maybe, and that will not come down that far even towards the end of this stint. So realistically speaking, unless there is a mistake out of the Hungarian, which, considering his consistency with scoring points in the Formula Sim Racing World Championship, I don't think it's really going to happen. I think Hoyer might have to settle for third in the championship.
What a frustrating way to lose it, though.
Yeah.
Really, really frustrating way to lose it. I can't even get to the bottom of how that's even happened. We just saw him with his engine off in the pit lane, losing stacks and stacks of time. But not only is he going to be disappointed with the fact that he has lost second place in the championship here tonight, but the way he's lost it must be absolutely gutting for him. I mean, I would be absolutely furious with myself personally, but he must be heartbroken by it almost. Look at this now.
Missed the box.
The moment he missed the box first of all, and then it didn't get any better from there. We'll put it that way.
Does he go and then it stalls? We just need to take a quick look. Oh, it just switches off right there. Maybe he pressed the wrong button, don't know. But either way, yeah, just sitting in the box, waiting. It's not quite as painful in the sense of that was for a World Championship, but for anyone who's been around Formula Sim racing for a while, God, he sat there for so long. It takes a long time for these engines to fire up. For anyone who can remember back to the first ever season we did on rFactor 2 in the title race between Morgan Morand and, of course, Brunner House, and the championship being settled, the Circuit of the Americas, because, well, to be perfectly honest, Morgan Morand hit the pit limiter twice on entry to pit lane, sped in pit lane, which is not good. Not only did he do it once, though, he did it twice across the race, and it cost him the championship. Brunner House ended up with his fifth title. I wonder if Jene Simicic can make it 5, and on the charge that he's on these days, who knows? Incredibly talented driver. But yeah, I'm sure for Hoyer, it's in that level of frustration of just like such a simple mistake. It sounds simple. It's harsh. It's a bit silly, but it's just very, very unfortunate, and I'm sure he'll be very, very cross and probably quite a bit upset right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's these little things and the little frustrating ones that really certainly got to me when I used to be racing. I remember once
you used to race.
Well, I did. Well, yeah,
wow.
I did. Not on rFactor 2, but a long time ago. I remember one time that going into a race, I accidentally left the session, going in, and I missed the start because I just accidentally left. So that was just idiotic, and I was furious. But anyway, that's a story for another day. The gap coming down at the lead of the race, 2.5 seconds, 2.4. It is starting to trend towards Siebel, getting towards Simicic here, and it's a little bit strange to me because Simicic is on the soft tyres and Siebel's on the hards, but nevertheless, the gap's come down by about a second since the two of them left the pit lane.
I mean, maybe it will start trending in a way in favour. Of course, this comes down to obviously heat cycles and such of the tyre, and maybe it favouring the hards over the longer stints. Alex Siebel is pushing very, very hard at the moment. Just did an 8.7 on the previous lap, closing in a quarter of a second down to Jene Simicic, and could theoretically catch our race leader before the end of the race should he continue on in this trend. But knowing Simicic, driving within himself, said about the first stint of the race where it got to that final moment and he was like, right, okay, now I'm going to turn this up and make a charge for it, and was able to pull out the gap. And that's kind of in the vein of what Jene Simicic loves to do. He'll wait until that final moment of the stint and then fire onto the timesheets. And right now this lap wasn't quite good enough from Alex Siebel, as Jene Simicic did respond. He set a 1:08.7 and went a quarter of a second. So all that work that Siebel did over the previous lap has just been detonated by our triple world champion.
Yeah, you get the feeling that he is in control, but it's just worth noting that gap down a little bit. Unfortunately for Michi Hoyer, just under 6 seconds. The gap's still not coming down anywhere near enough for him to be anywhere near Janusz Praksa. He probably needs to be catching by a second a lap if he wants a couple of shots at getting through. And that doesn't look like it's going to happen just for the moment. In the battle for 7th place, Ricardo Costa has left Zolt Zooks and Danny van der Neet behind to kind of battle between themselves, but they're not even doing that at the moment. Carlos Martin has been detached as well, but it doesn't really matter because Danny van der Neet is coming into the pit lane, so they're all going to gain a place anyway. Ivan Leonov is going to get into the points here today. That's going to be a delightful result for him.
But it's not Cameron Roger.
No, it's not. Unfortunately for us, it's not. Well, no, not yet. But you never know. It doesn't look like it's going to happen.
You could take a good guess, though.
Yeah, you could. But I'm just trying to keep the hope alive. Here.
I see.
It's dying, fading quickly at the moment. Also, battles that are closing. Noah Roivers and Ricardo Costa. The gap is 3 seconds between the two of them. I have to say I wasn't expecting that gap to close, but Costa is really putting in a shift here on the soft tyres at the end. Roivers is suffering on the hards towards the end. And that may be a battle we see in the dying laps.
We'll have to wait and see. I will say, it's been an interesting race so far to end the season, as most of the races have been. It's odd to see that obviously throughout the season we've had that pole stat switch around. If there was someone who was going to end that as a streak, obviously we have had 2 occasions where it's not been sorted out this season. That was because of Michi Hoyer's strategy at the Nürburgring and Michi's curb usage. at the Dutch Grand Prix, and here it's just been flat out strategy, flat out pace, and of course when you go toe to toe with someone the likes of Jone Simičić, you need to be perfect from start to finish in the race, and it was that crucial point in that middle point of the race at the end of the or in the second stint when Simičić was on those hards. He's just so good at latching onto the slipstream and then holding the gap. Look at him now though, he's just absolutely started to light it up, and he has said goodbye to all of his competitors once again in the sort of the higher regions of the 108s, whereas Seabor's only able to just cling on to the lower 109s at the moment, and that gap is getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. It is indeed at the front of this race. Talking about critical moments in this race, but critical moment in the season for me. I know it sounds a little bit weird considering that Hoyer's not going to finish second in the championship anymore, but looking back with great amount of hindsight, the moment when Michi Hoyer used those curves a little bit too aggressively on the exit of the penultimate corner and went flying into the air, you know, DNFing from that Dutch Grand Prix, for me, that is the championship winning moment for Jone Simičić, as weird as it sounds, because Hoyer was on such a roll, he was unstoppable, he had a huge lead, but the momentum he lost that day was irreversible in the 2021 championship, and with hindsight, you'd have to say, for me anyway, that is the defining moment, the championship defining moment.
Especially as he was on at that point to win his fourth consecutive race. He was in a tight battle with Petter Berliak, who Petter was in a position where he might well have won the race. It was kind of hard to tell which way it was going to go. But either way, it was either going to be the fourth consecutive win, or it was going to be a fourth consecutive podium and second place with it. It was points thrown into the bin, and unfortunately, it was through. I mean, I was going to say it's through no fault of his own. Unfortunately, it actually, in a sense, was, but a punishment does not fit the crime. Ran a little bit wide in the corner, and then the curb sent him off to Mars. But unfortunately, it's just how it goes. And you're absolutely right. If you look at the trend of the season past that point, was not able to re-find that form, or at least sort of capture those points that was won from the early stages, as a little bit slow from Cam Roger. Has he had an issue, or is he just getting out of the way of the leaders? I think it's just getting out of the way of the leaders. I was about to again throw him under the bus, but okay.
Well, he's got Doman Skrovron, just behind him at the moment. This is the battle for 12th place, and they're not in the same team, by the way, although these cars look remarkably similar. They're not quite. The Williams and the AFP cars look very similar. It's only that we haven't seen the AFP cars very much towards the pointy end at any point, and we've not seen them at all after round 6, so it's getting a little bit used to them again. But this is the fight for 12 going on. Van der Neet and Fournier are a fair distance behind, you would say. This is Alex Siebel, who's got one of them I think it's Danny Van der Neet just behind, so maybe there's going to be a freeway fight for 12th place going on later on, but this is not really what you want to see if you're a leader coming through these three right now. Yeah,
Alex Siebel will be sat there being like, I really hope they see me going here, because they need to scooch by the time they get there. But at the moment, the gap's holding firm as we ride back on board with Scowron on the rear end of Roger, and obviously you can see Jone Simičić leading the head of it. And it was just Roger hopping out of the way, maybe gave up a little bit too much time, and maybe forced this move to happen. Scowron to the inside, bit of a dive, and that wasn't really fought from Cameron Roger at all.
Well, there might be a fight back here with the better exit, although he's not really got a fantastic run. His slipstream is going to help, but it's going to have to be a dive into turn 4. Oh, it is a dive! It's so late on the brakes. It's too late on the brakes. Oh, dear, oh, dear. Oh, he's kept the position, though. This is remarkable stuff. Skrovron carries on, gets down the inside, and he goes through. Siebel goes through as well. Danny Van der Neet is going to try and get through on Roger. This is getting messy between the three of them.
Oh,
here comes Danny Van der Neet. Look at him. He's going to get them both. You've got Roger following through on Siebel, and he's going to get Skrovron in exactly the same way. Opportunistic driving from the Netrex driver. He's got 2 free positions.
I'll give him a 10 out of 10 for that attempt there from Roger. That was never going to work. But I will say, give him credit. He did dive it in a little bit too hard. But he did miss Scowron, which quite a lot of drivers would just smash into the car ahead. Did manage to avoid, so at least there was that. We've seen Cam Roger miss a couple of corners over his career.
See this again.
Most notably down at into the first chicane on the Mulsanne, where he missed the corner a little bit once back in 2019. We'll see this one once again. There we go, just straight through from Van den Eek. Perfect. And there's one. There's two. Cheers, thanks. Bye.
I wonder if Cam thought that Van den Eek was also a lap car coming through to lap him. Maybe. But anyway, we've got to see this again because this is an iconic dive bomb down into turn 4. It really is. So it doesn't get a fantastic exit off of turn 2, it has to be said. But the move is on, but it's just the lateness of the braking that does it for him, really. It's about 50 metres too late, I'm afraid, and off onto the AstroTurf. It's quite bumpy out there.
He didn't spin.
No, he didn't spin. He held on to the position for a little while, but then decided to let Siebel through, as well as everybody, actually. He just let them all through into Ferradura, so there you go. But, yeah, providing us with the entertainment in the closing laps, but unfortunately, no points for Cam once again today.
We'll give that a 9 out of 10 when it comes to effort for Cam Roger. Unfortunately, was painfully close to points last season. Ended up 11th place at the Brazilian Grand Prix. This time looking like it's going to be a little bit further away. And once again, points elude Cameron Roger. No, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it to Cam. The Scotsman. I was close though. I was close.
Dennis Jordan, by the way, is not too far away from Ivan Leonov. This is the battle for the final point of the in the order. I'd like to see Leonov hang on here, to be honest, because he's hung on in there and not scored any, obviously, this season so far. And just jumping in for the Brazilian Grand Prix. If he could take one off Dennis Jordan, then it would be a great story for him. But it doesn't look like he's going to be able to. He's got a big job in his hands, and they've got 2 laps to go at the line as well, because Simičić is only just behind them. So 2 laps to go for Leonov to hang on here for Netrex, but it looks like Dennis Jordan is unstoppable at the moment, driving very quickly indeed. Outside line into turn number 1. Doesn't look like there's going to be too much of an argument even. Leonov brakes late though. He brakes super late and he defends well, very well into turn 1. Nice run through the second turn there for Jordan. He's going to have slipstream as well. Leonov is going to force him to the outside line for turn 4. But Dennis Jordan is a good way alongside and actually gets his nose in front heading into the braking zone. They clash coming through the corner. Still side by side. Leonov gets in front again. Now can Jordan hang it to the outside line? Surely not around the outside. He's going to go for it. He's going to go through the outside line through Ferradura. And he's got the outside line for the next turn as well. But not quite the move just yet. Sticks behind for the moment and cannot get through whichever way he goes. Leonov hanging on just for the moment. Incredible racing though.
Great effort between the pair of them. Absolutely sensational. Jordan still struggling to get through. We will be able to catch the end of this fight, courtesy of where they are on track. A bit of a snap on brakes. I wonder if he's going to try and make something stick at turn 1. That will miss. It was a poor exit though from Dennis Jordan. And Jurnej Simičić has one more corner to go to end the season in the Formula SimRacing World Championship.
The gap has come down to just a second between himself and Alex Siebel, but it's not going to matter because Jurnej Simičić wins the Brazilian Grand Prix and becomes a 3-time FSR World Champion, just ahead of Alex Siebel, who finishes in second. What a fantastic season from Simičić. Once again, not finishing outside of the top 5 at all.
Jordan.
Here comes one of his rivals, Dennis Jordan, on the inside of Ivan Leonov. This is for the final point scoring position in the field. And it's been a great fight between the two of them. It may even be a photo finish. They go up the hill through Ferradura one final time. They're going to be the final cars to cross the line in the season. And it could well be a very, very close one indeed. Let's wait and see. They go through the middle sector. Bit of a slide from Jordan there, which is not going to help him by any stretch of the imagination. But he may well still be close enough. Let's wait and see what his run through Juncao is like. Is it good enough? Is he going to do well enough through these final corners to do it? Leonov gets a good run there. Leonov has got a good run, but has Jordan done enough here? Into the slipstream he comes. Leonov's going to make him go round the outside the long way round. It's going to be a photo finish. There's a bit of a bump. And Leonov just about hanged on to the point. Fantastic defending from him. Dennis Jordan will be a little bit disappointed, but a photo finish to end off the season. There you go. Incredible racing. Great race. And an incredible champion here once again. Jurnej Simičić, 3-time FSR World Champion.
Yeah, should Leonov have... Oh, there's been a bit of a crash. We'll ignore that, don't worry. Should Leonov have held the tight line he basically Leonov just drove the racing line, which was a smart move, because had he held a tight defensive line, the shortest run to the line, Jordan would probably have just got around him, and I think Jordan might have scored the final point of the season. Unfortunately, though, Leonov just doing as he was doing, and Jordan misjudging it a little bit. It was tight, it was close, it was an enthralling fight, but Leonov comes out on top, and Dennis Jordan will have a frustrating end to the 2021 FSR World Championship, and that started from the very first lap of the race. And like you say, Jene Simoncic victorious, Siebel and Brakshock behind. Great to see Brakshock back on the podium, and must be said, but a massive shame for Michi Hoyer. Two poor pit stops, one worse than the other, and unfortunately not able to grab himself onto the podium and grab himself second in the championship. That will go the way of Alex Siebel for Red Bull Racing Esports.
Yes, indeed, it will. Second place on the day, second place in the championship. Michi Hoyer is going to be third, but they're all in the wake of this man, Jene Simoncic, who is going to celebrate his victory, the 2021 FSR World Champion, and becomes the third man.
Don't do it in the shadow, mate. You're in the sun.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, he is a little bit in the shadow there, but third man to win 3 FSR World Championships on the ballot. He's going to do Will Davison here if he's not careful. Smack it into the wall. He's just about stopped himself. But let me just give you some stats on Simoncic, because they're quite frightening. He's closing in on 1,000 laps led, by the way, in the World Championship. That's insane in itself. 97th point scoring finish today, 57th podium, his 26th win in 110 starts in the World Championship. That means once every 4 races, he is winning a race at rFactor 2's open wheel kind of top level in sim racing, and that is just an astonishing record from this man here.
Yeah, it really is sensational from Jene Simoncic. It's just shows how good he is when it comes to his conversions in the championship as well. 3 championships, twice in second place as well. Definitely a quality driver.
He is indeed. He's beaten Alex Siebel by just a second in this one. Jens Brakshock's got his third ever FSR World Championship podium here today in third, ahead of a dejected Michi Hoyer. Colin Spork and Noah Roy was 5th and 6th for Edge Esports. Ricardo Costa is in 7th. Zolt Zux is in 8th ahead of Carlos Martin. Ivan Leonov is then in 10th position. Just behind that, we saw Dennis Jordan not quite getting there. Then Danny Van Der Neet and Damien Skroen were in 12th and 13th. Cam Roger 14th ahead of Jeffrey Fournier in 15th. Jan Bosnicker, David Mocek and Tom Oldenmenger didn't end up finishing the race. Here is your final championship standings. Just talk quickly about the prizes, actually, before we get into the interviews from our sponsors that these guys have obviously already won in the season. From 3D Wrap, we've got an Akina handbrake, pike shifter, and 2 steering wheels for these guys. From Sim Lab, we've got a P1X cockpit and seat, and from Masita, a winner's t-shirt, and that goes to all divisions, by the way. All division winners, all 4 of them that we have here in 2021. But yeah, let's talk to a couple of these drivers. First of all, Jene Simoncic, who is now confirmed as our champion. There can be no arguments about it now. 56 points the margin at the end. Wasn't particularly close, but it was fairly close in the race. First of all, Jene, congratulations on the Brazilian Grand Prix win and the championship, of course. How was the fight with Alex Siebel today? It was kind of toing and froing all day, but you looked in control for the second half of the race. How was it feeling out there?
Yeah, thank you so much. I was worried about the crazy pace that Alex and Michi would have, as they all really wanted to get the P2 in the standings. But still, I wanted to win, of course, especially as, well, in my eyes, this is like kind of end of an era for FSR. Let's see what happens next year. But yeah, I wanted to finish this decade of my participation in FSR with a good result. So, I couldn't prepare much because still there is GT Pro tomorrow, and that, of course, got most of my attention. But still, I did just enough to be comfortable. And yeah, the strategy battle was amazing. And the most important thing for me was to stay with Alex when he was on full tank and softs, and I was slightly under fuel and hards, and I thought he would just drive away, but somehow I could stay 1 second behind him, and that made the race and the strategy.
It was very interesting indeed. But on a lighter note, it's a sort of a Ewan Simicic tradition to drive in a suit for the final race. So what's happened to that this year? Why no suit?
Well, I would not call it a tradition if I do it once, but well, if you check my stream, I had a short 5-minute special instead of the suit, basically playing the first ever driving game that I played. So feel free to check that. But yeah, it's all good fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And one final thing as well, because it's kind of been a whole new look to FSR this year with the added tyre compound strategy business and the new car as well. How have you found all of the new elements to FSR this year?
I was struggling with the car at the beginning. It took me 5 races to win a race. But then somehow stuff started to work. Maybe I just need like thousands of laps with car and then I can win or something. But I enjoyed the strategy. I really enjoyed that there is no stupid DRS which just kills the racing. There is no effect of good effect of DRS except for one-on-one battles, but those trains just kill every fun. So I was really excited to have no DRS. And well, there were some issues with overtaking on some tracks, but I think in the end, with an update or 2 on the car, we got it figured out. So it was always nice to have, like it was always possible to carry a different strategy and make it work.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a very nice season indeed, and of course a successful one for you, Yoni. Congratulations, and yeah, thanks for talking to us as well.
Thank you so much.
There we are, Ewan Simicic from the win of the Brazilian Grand Prix. We'll move down to Alex Silva, who just about runner-up by a second at the end of the race there. First of all, Alex, I guess congratulations on second, and of course, second place in the championship. It didn't look like you were going to be able to manage that, but how aware were you of the trials and tribulations of Hoyer, who was behind you for a lot of the day, but obviously you weren't going to be able to get that second place in the championship for a long time. How aware were you of what was going on?
Well, I was focusing on getting Yene, so first of all, congrats to him. But then after the last stop, I had a look and saw Michi is far away. And then I just checked like every lap how the gap between Michi and Janos is. So I was quite aware then in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure you'll be very pleased. 4th place last year, 2nd place this year, and also that race win, of course, that you managed to get for the first time at Indianapolis. Would you regard this as a successful season for yourself, building on 2020?
Yes, I think so. I think the gap to Yene or to the front, I mean it's Yene, it was smaller than last year, so I'm quite happy with the results.
Yeah, and of course in the team's championship, unfortunately, 2nd place for the 2nd year in a row. But you and Dennis have worked hard once again, and you guys presumably going to be. Well, I don't want to talk about next year too much, but you guys going in the right direction certainly with regards to that gap that gap to Burst Esport. How have you felt that improvement in the car yourself, or has that just been kind of happening naturally without you almost realizing?
Well, I think I was more on it this year than last year. I think last year, especially, the season start wasn't the greatest. I was far off my potential. That was better this year. But yeah, I mean, especially in the team's championship, Yene Imici had the title well deserved. I mean, I don't know, 6 or 7 or 8 races won by them. So, and I think Zandvoort would have been Imici's win as well without that bug. So, yeah. Congrats to them, but I'm happy with our season this year.
Yeah, absolutely, and you've got every right to be, of course. Congratulations on P2 today and P2 in the championship, of course. Thanks for talking to us as well. Moving on to Janis Braxtock, who manages to get his 2nd podium of the season here at Interlagos. Congratulations once again, Janis. 3rd place for you on this occasion, managing to get ahead of Hoyer right at the end. And I guess I'll pose a similar question to you. How aware were you that Hoyer was having issues in the pit lane? Were you surprised when he came out in 3rd right at the very end?
Yes. I will check what Michi have done in the race, but yeah, I was very amazed about the burst and the Red Bull team, and especially at the first stint where the gap is just increased and increased, and then okay, I should take my pace and let's see how unfolds. But yeah, it was a bit lucky to grab that third place, so I'm pretty happy with today's result.
Been another very steady and consistent season for you, but 3 no point scoring finishes as opposed to the 1 that you had last year. Are you happy with your performance this season, or have you left a bit on the table? Would you have liked to do a little bit better?
Yeah, absolutely. This is my best result since I'm racing here in FSR B16 championship, which is very good. Yeah, we had ups and downs during the whole season. The first half was pretty okay, I guess, but since the middle of the season, maybe I got stuck in the setup work. But yeah, I found something at Malaysia. It could work, but I felt sorry that that race was cancelled. But yeah, the car was okay basically for this run. But yeah, Yoni and Alex just did an insane job. So there is nothing more I could do today. So I'm 100% happy.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no reason for it. Yeah, absolutely. So all that's left to say, I guess, is congratulations on P3 today and on the season that
Thank
we've
you.
had, and thanks for talking to us as well. Moving on, finally, and we wouldn't normally do this, but we're going to interview Michi Hoyer as well, finishing 4th place here today, losing out on 2nd place in the championship to finish off 3rd in the end. First of all, Michi, I don't want to bring up this bad experience for you again, but what did happen in the final pit stop for you there?
First of all, I want to congratulate Jenny on the championship and Alex on the vice championship. Well deserved, because good consistency, no DNFs, and yeah, if it were looking to me, and I don't even want to bring up that Sunford thing, but 2 DNFs and mistakes throughout the season, so you don't deserve the 2nd place in that regard. What basically happened is, for the 2nd time in the race, I first overshot my pit box, and then while reversing into pit road, I think in rFactor 2 it's the way that your pit service crew still kind of starts working on you while you're just at a very minor low speed. And so I got serviced, and at the same time the anti-stall kicked in, but I didn't notice, because the anti-stall has already kicked in before while putting reverse, and then it got me just that little bit more back, and I got serviced, and then the engine died 3 seconds before being released, and I flipped the starter, nothing happened. Then I flipped ignition and then the starter, but it felt like ages, and it was just like, I think 12 seconds or something, but I knew instantly that it was enough to have thrown away all hopes.
Yeah, it felt like an eternity for me just watching, and I can't imagine how you must have felt in the car. As you say, 3rd place in the championship for you this time. It equals your 2020 position. You're on the winning team again on this occasion, but 3 race wins this year as opposed to just the 1 last year. Is this a season that you'll look back and be pleased with? Will you be tinged with that little bit of disappointment?
Probably not, due to just today. Like, with 3 wins, and when Yene, I think, has 4 or 5 wins, and anyone else has less wins, then you should not, by all means, finish 3rd in the championship. And yeah, I suffer quite a lot from that today, to be fair. Like, many people would probably be 2nd or 3rd, is not winning the championship either way. And also just making it tight with Alex in the championship and win it by wins is like fairly too close for what I consider I should have been able to achieve with the general performance this year. So just looking at results, 3rd last year, 3rd this year, it's identical, so no improvement. And yeah, of course, we got 2 more wins and a lot more podiums, but yeah, like, you're not allowed to be vice champion if you do mistakes like I did them today, and that's what you need to accept.
That's fair enough, I suppose. I guess also left to say is congratulations on third place in the championship, nevertheless, and thanks for coming for an interview as well.
Yeah, thank you though, much appreciated.
There are, we do actually have one more driver, but also has another role within FSR. Final interview that we'll do, because it is the last race of the season. We'll just have a quick chat with Cam Roger, but not about the race, because I'll bring that dive bomb up enough in future, well, forever really. I won't forget it. It was brilliant. But most of all, just a final word from you as FSR president, and you know what you think, how the season's gone, and everything like that.
Well, yeah, it's just like with Brazil last year, missed out on the points by not too many seconds, which is a bit of a shame. But then again, I'm not a WC driver; those guys are just way too quick. But yeah, the season as a whole is obviously been quite an interesting season. We changed a few things; some things worked, some things didn't, and obviously there's some other issues along the way. But I'm glad that we could still have a nice finish to the championship. There's still some great racing along the way, and especially the Burst and Red Bull guys had some amazing battles throughout the season. Pretty much Yerne, Michi, Dennis and Alex just spreading out the victories across the season, depending on who just got to grips with it. Yeah, it was nice to see. Obviously, we don't really know what's going to happen in the future. As always, end of the season, it's only August, and if whenever we start the next season, it wouldn't be well into 22. So still going to be plenty of months to sort things and see what's going to happen. But yeah, it's been a great pleasure to be president once again, and thank you to yourself and Lewis and Felix and Thomas as well. Also Anthony, just being behind the scenes at all the events. So it's been a good one.
Yeah, it has indeed, and a personal thanks from me as well for having me on as commentator for this season. It's been an absolute pleasure, and to be alongside Lewis, it's been a pleasure as well. Final word from you, Lewis. Your word on the season, how you think it's been, and everything like that.
Yeah, each race we've had different levels of intrigue. Whilst some have been slower than others, we've always had some form of entertainment from some sort of start to finish. And I think it's been a successful season, and we didn't even need DRS as well. So at least we had that. There's been some great races, of course, great storylines through the championship, which I like. It's nice to see Red Bull Racing eSports as well, jumping into the rFactor 2 side of things. So great to see those with us, and finally got that livery. Also to Felix van Delft as well, doing the broadcast today, replacing Cam because he decided he wanted to drive. So thanks to Felix. His birthday yesterday as well, so happy birthday to him, albeit slightly belated. But that's all from me. So hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm certainly looking forward to it. That is it then for the 2021 FSR World Championship. It's been absolutely brilliant to have you all along, all the spectators and everybody who's been tuning in for these races. It's been a great season, thoroughly enjoyable. My name's been Ewan O'Leary. I've been alongside Lewis McGlade for this final race of the year, and until next time, it's goodbye for now.